Chapter 340 Blood Fireworks. When Nakajima Ayuki heard Kusanagi Kenji's words, her face was still a bit confused, because the god ranking was still too new to her and she wasn't clear about the meaning of this kind of ranking. Chen Fan heard from the side. He remembered that he had deliberately checked the god ranking because of the name Qin Qingxian, on which he saw Xiao Hua ranked 8th, and the one who ranked 9th was called Hijack. This Hijack turns out to be someone from the Kusanagi family? Chen Fan secretly said in his heart, I'm afraid that this Hijack being able to ascend to the 9th place on the divine ranking has something to do with the heavenly conglomerating cloud sword. And your grandfather was able to block the Jin Shangwa 100%? Nakajima Aishua was still a bit reluctant to this political marriage. Of course. Kusanagi Kenji said extremely proudly, my grandfather, named Kusanagi Wang, brought one calamity after another to the people of East Asia at the time of the Second World War with his astounding strength, so he was known as the god of the robbing sword, and because of that, he ascended to the 9th place on the god ranking, and can be said to be the #1 expert of the country of Japan, and the reason that Kim Sang-guk was able to get on the god ranking was entirely because of that. #1 on the god ranking, Qin Qingxian. Qin Qingxian? The more Nakajima Ayuki heard, the stranger it became. Haven't you seen the video that's been circulating on the internet recently? It's because this Qin Qingxian killed several powerful people above the god ranking in a row, causing a vacancy in the god ranking, which allowed Jin Shangwa to qualify to ascend the god ranking. If my grandfather makes a move, the only thing Jin Shangwa can do is die. And this Murakami Kanzuya beside me has received my grandfather's guidance, and belongs to my grandfather's disciple. With his strength, even if your Nakajima family sends hundreds of people to come, it's impossible for him to be his opponent. Kusanagi Kenji, looking extremely proud, said to Nakajima Ayuki. Ayuki, you understand now, our Nakajima family, the only way to survive this crisis is to get help from the Kusanagi family. Nakajima Ichiro said with helplessness on his face. When Nakajima Ayuki heard this, she could only despair. The Nakajima family was already powerless in the face of the Jin Chamber of Commerce due to the appearance of the Jin Sangoku, and Nakajima would definitely do whatever it took to get her to join the Kusanagi family to complete the marriages for she and Song-yi. They were nothing more than ordinary people in business. Where were their opponents? However, she quickly realized the problem and immediately asked, No, with a status and position like yours, you shouldn't even be marrying a woman like me. If it's just a marriage contract, definitely won't bind you. You're not stupid yet. Kusanagi Kenji looked at Nakajima Ayuki and said with a faint smile, that's right, no matter which way you look at it, you can't possibly be worthy of me. It's considered a high climb for you to be able to marry me, but I must marry you, and as long as I do, I will be able to take over the entire Nakajima family, the entire Nippon and Yang chambers of commerce in a legitimate manner. Nakajima Ayuki's face changed at those words, then she looked at her father Nakajima Ichiro, on the other hand, lowered his head slightly, acquiescing to Kusanagi Kenji's statement. In the face of absolute strength, the Nakajima family could only suffer in silence, but at least, the Nakajima family could still enjoy glory and prosperity at the hands of Kusanagi Kenji. No, you still have reasons. With the power of the Kusanagi family, if you want to take over the Nakajima family in name only, you don't need to marry me at all, you still have a plot. Nakajima Ayuki suddenly said. For a moment, she felt that the reason given by the other party was not sufficient. The Nakajima family could not even hold back the Golden Sangoku, and facing the Kusanagi family was even more difficult to hold back, so where was the need to marry her? So there must be a conspiracy. Haha, Ms. Ayuki, you are indeed smart and can think deeper. Since you thought of it, let me ask you, do you know why I captured this Xiaoman called Song-yi and never killed him? Could it be that I was merciful? Kusanagi Kenji asked. Could it be that I wasn't threatened and forced to come see you? Nakajima Ayuki asked, trembling. Threaten you? You think too highly of yourself? If the Kusanagi family wanted to find you, why would they need to threaten you with a Xiaoman? We need you to finish a scene with this Xiaoman. Kusanagi Kenji said slowly. What the hell do you mean? Nakajima Ayuki asked. Behind this Song-yi's company is the Tianqin Group, and this Tianqin Group's products can be said to be the ones that will turn the entire world upside down, and we've coveted them for a long time, but we've never been able to steal the key technology. After we learned that you and Song-yi were engaged, we had a solution. This solution is very simple, that is, you and Song-yi get married, after that we will kill Song-yi. Song-yi is an orphan. Once he dies, the law of the summer country, everything he has is yours. At that time, I will marry you, so we cannot have to alarm any special organization within the summer country. We cannot have to be afraid of any special organization borrow Song-yi's company to infiltrate Sky Qin silently and get
Everything we want," Kusanagi Kenji said to Nakajima Aishu with a smile on his face.
When Nakajima Aishue heard this, her sweaty hair stood on end, not expecting the other party to be so vicious, and said, "Then I, in the end, won't be carrying all the sins." Not bad. When the matter comes to fruition, the Xia Kingdom or the Tianqin Group will inevitably investigate, and you will be a good target to take the blame, but don't worry, when it comes to that time, I will let you die in advance, so that you and Song Yi will become a pair of outlawed lovebirds. From Kusanagi Kenji said indifferently.
Nakajima Ayuki's face paled when she heard this. Sure enough, this Kusanagi Kenji was vicious enough. "Well, Ms. Ayuki, since you're here, next, do you want to play along with our drama? Or do you want to watch your fiancé suffer?"
Kusanagi Kenji said, picking up the sake on the table and taking a sip as he rambled on. And as his words fell, Murakami Kanzuya opened his eyes once more, and steeply the room chilled as a terrifying aura swept through. Nakajima Ayuki stood there, petite body trembling, only despair, painfully said, "I did not expect, because of me, harm Di Jun. Don't you think about suicide? From the moment you step into this place, there is already no possibility of suicide."
Kusanagi Kenji then said, "So, you have no choice now. It is you who have no choice."
Only, as soon as Kusanagi Kenji's words fell, Chen Fan, who was on the side, suddenly spoke up.
"What?"
Upon hearing this, Kusanagi Kenji's eyes looked coldly at Chen Fan.
"You no longer have a choice but to die, including your Kusanagi family,"
Chen Fan said indifferently.
"Bugger."
Murakami Kanzuya was instantly filled with rage. His samurai sword instantly came out of its sheath and chopped down on Chen Fan's head. As this sword chopped out, the blade came out horizontally, transforming into a fiery blade light that ignited the air, crimson flames over the sky.
Kusanagi Ghost Burning Chop.
This was one of the Kusanagi family's sword techniques, and legend had it that with this sword, not only cut through the river, but even vaporized that river, and this blade, like thunder, seemed to transcend time as it chopped at Chen Fan.
Kusanagi Kenji revealed a cold smile, ready to see how Chen Fan's head would fall to the ground and how blood would bloom in the void.
Only, Chen Fan raised his hand and flexed his finger.
Bang!
In an instant, an explosion sound came from that Murakami Kanzuya, who had made a sword strike. His body then exploded, and blood blossomed like blood-colored fireworks in the void.
Chapter 341, Why Can't I Be Chen Qingshin? Bang! An explosive sound came, what with the light of the sword and the light of the fire all dissipating.
And Murakami Kanzuya's body burst apart in an instant, the blood scattering like fireworks, causing all those present to freeze.
None of these people understood what was happening.
Especially Kusanagi Kenji, who had been expecting Chen Fan's head to fall to the ground and his blood to spill, but now, Chen Fan was fine, while Murakami Kanzuya's body exploded, his blood transforming into fireworks that flashed in the middle of the room. Kusanagi Kenji was really stupid. Murakami Kanzuya was an expert personally instructed by his grandfather. His strength was already at the peak of the Grand Master realm, and he had followed him as his bodyguard for more than 10 years. He had never seen Murakami lose, and not only had he never lost, he had never seen anyone who could catch one of Murakami's swords to this day. Before Chen Fan appeared, everyone had been decapitated by one of his slashes. And now they were just turned into blood fireworks.
This really made Kusanagi Kenji completely dumbfounded.
As for Nakajima Ichiro, he was also shocked. He didn't expect the person his daughter had brought with her to be so terrifying, killing Murakami Kanzuya with a snap of his fingers. As for Nakajima Aishua, the same was true. With only shock on her face, she really didn't expect Song Yi's friend, Chen Fan, to be so terrifying. With a snap of his fingers, Murakami Kanzuya was reduced to ashes. Originally, the matter of marriage, I didn't want to care. This time I came over, just to take away Song Yi, but I didn't expect that the water in here is so deep. Chen Fan said indifferently after killing Murakami Kanzuya with a snap of his fingers. He listened to what Nakajima Aishua said. In reality, he didn't want to care too much. After all, the marriage contract was a private matter, so he came over and his idea was just to take Song Yi away. As for the marriage contract between Nakajima Ayuki and Kusanagi Kenji, he didn't want to interfere at all. It's just that he didn't expect this Kusanagi family of Japan to be so much of a crook, coveting on his Tianqin group. This was good. He didn't even need to find a reason to go to the Kusanagi family to get the Heavenly Cloud Sword. This was the Kusanagi family delivering it to his door, and as soon as Chen Fan's words came out, in an instant, it made Kusanagi Kenji come back to his senses, and he immediately stabilized himself and said, Sir, since this is the case, how about today's matter comes to an end? After all, everything started with Nakajima Ichiro's own request to make sure that his daughter marries into the Kusanagi Kusanagi Kenji was worthy of being the successor trained by the great power of Kusanagi. His ability to change his words on the spur of the moment was indeed strong, and in a single sentence, he had taken off his own responsibility.
Right. Right.
Nakajima Ichiro said hurriedly, our Nakajima family is in the midst of a crisis, I really had no choice.
Nakajima Ichiro didn't know how much Chen Fan had at the moment. It couldn't be stronger than that god-ranking 9th heist, could it?
Therefore, if Kusanagi Kenji asked him to take the blame, he could only do so. Chen Fan couldn't help but smile when he heard this statement. If, however, he had nothing to do with the Sky Chin Company, this matter might really be over.
It was a pity that this Kusanagi Kenji still didn't know who he was. I just said that you have no choice but to be dead. Do you think I'm just saying that? Chen Fan looked at Kusanagi Kenji and said with a smile on his face. When Kusanagi Kenji heard this, his face changed and he said in a deep voice, did you not hear what I said before? Is my grandfather the 9th on the god ranking? If you kill me, even in the Summer Kingdom, you will be hunted to death by Kusanagi. God ranking, huh?
Chen Fan grinned at his words, talking as if who hasn't been on the god ranking. As soon as Kusanagi Kenji heard this, his face changed, his eyes looked at Chen Fan in horror, and his voice slightly trembled as he said, could it be that you have left your name on the gods list as well?
What do you think?
Chen Fan said with a smirk, impossible, absolutely impossible, there are only 4 people within the Summer Kingdom who are known on the god list.
Kusanagi Kenji immediately said. 4 people? Tell me, which 4?
Chen Fan asked with a smile on his face.
Ranked 17th, the Chun clan's old monster, Chen Dingtian.
Kusanagi Kenji immediately said, Chen Dingtian had a battle with my grandfather in Japan, and he lost, so I've seen him before, and you're not him. The second one is the 11th ranked Xiang realist, Qin Xiang, also the current Jade Void Palace Lord of the Summer Kingdom. His strength is very strong. Within the entire country of Japan only my grandfather can fight against him. You are not Qin Xiang either. Kusanagi Kenji stared at Chen Fan and continuously uttered 2 people. As for the 2 people behind him, he did not want to say anything because the person in front of him definitely could not be these 2 people. Why? Keep talking.
Chen Fan continued.
Kusanagi Kenji's face sank as he continued. And the third person is Xiao Huer, ranked 8th, she's a woman, there's absolutely no way you could be her.
And the last person? Chen Fan looked at Kusanagi Kenji indifferently.
The last one is Qin Xian. It was because of his sudden appearance that the god ranking that had not changed for many years changed, and he even killed 8 god realm powerhouses in a row to powerfully rise to the top, number 1 on the god ranking, called the supreme powerful god realm, invincible within the god realm. Do you want to say that you are Qin Xian? Kusanagi Kenji stared at Chen Fan and said, of course, if you are Qin Xian, I'll admit it. After saying that, he added another sentence with a touch of disdain. Qin Xian, the supreme figure that had shaken the entire world, such a figure, how could the person brought by Nakajima Aiju be a? If Nakajima Ayuki knew this person, why would the Nakajima family need to come and beg the Kusanagi family, and naturally, they wouldn't let Kusanagi Kenji see the opportunity to infiltrate the Heavenly Qin group. Why can't I be Qin Xian? Chen Fan spoke faintly. And the moment the words fell, Chen Fan flexed his fingers. A bolt of chi shot towards Kusanagi Kenji. When Kusanagi Kenji saw Chen Fan striking out at him, his face sank and he did not show any fear. Instead, his right hand fiercely pressed the palm of his right hand, and all of a sudden, a ring on top of his right hand instantly shone with an ebony light, and immediately, a Kusanagi Kenji's voice came out, Suzaku no man, chop him up. In an instant, an evil ghost samurai wearing a samurai uniform, with a green face and fangs, and holding a Japanese sword, fiercely appeared. And this ghost samurai holding a Japanese sword, without hesitation towards Chen Fan chopped, a knife chopped out, knife light black, as if from the yellow spring, is accompanied by the sound of ghosts crying and wolves howling. This is the Kusanagi family second only to the Heavenly Pillar Sword's most precious treasure, Suzaku's ring, which hosts the ghost god Suzaku no Namo Split Soul. Although, it was only a slash from a split soul, the strength of this slash was already at the level of the god realm, and it was enough to cut down everyone under the god realm. A split soul is just a split soul, break it. Chen Fan laughed lightly in the face of this slash. Boom! The chi energy he flicked out blasted onto the soul of Suzaku, destroying it instantly, crushing the man of Suzaku into smithereens and dissipating into thin air. Kusanagi Kenji instantly froze at the sight, fear filling his eyes as his voice trembled. You really are Qin Xian? Of course. Chen Fan said indifferently, and as he spoke, he raised his hand and made a point. Bang! Kusanagi Kenji instantly exploded into blood mist. The Kusanagi family, the heaven's crowning cloud sword, Susanoo, interesting, make a trip there. After killing Kusanagi Kenji, Chen Fan looked towards the direction of the Japanese country and said indifferently.
Chapter 342 Man of Suzaku.
At the same moment Chen Fan shattered Susanoo's man's distraction. Japan, Kyoto Prefecture, Tenmanga Shrine.
Tenmanga Shrine, like Izumo Shrine, was one of the famous shrines in the country of Japan, and Tenmanga Shrine was then ruled by the Kusanagi family.
Inside the main hall of Tenmanga Shrine, a statue of an evil samurai with horns, fangs, and a snow-white katana was enshrined.
Susanoo.
This statue is Susanoo, and the katana in his hand is one of the 3 sacred weapons of Japan, the Sword of Tensho, also known as the Sword of Kusanagi. Below the man of Suzaku sat an old man with white hair. Suddenly, an incomparably mournful howl of rage came out. Only, this howling voice, instead of having any sound, appeared in the minds of the people of the Tenmanga Shrine.
Suzaku, great God, you have awakened. This old man with white hair and beard violently opened his eyes, and at the moment his eyes opened and closed, an overpowering and incomparable aura rushed out of the entire servant god hall and shook with it. At the same time, the sound of hurried and incomparable footsteps came from outside, and then the main door of the great hall was pushed open, and a middle-aged man hurriedly rushed in. The Suzaku great god has awakened.
This man hurried in and without making any curtsy, he panicked.
What's the point of panicking?
This old man slowly got up and said indifferently. And at the moment he spoke, the breath on his body surged once again, sweeping like a tidal wave, even causing the surrounding heaven and earth's breath to begin to change. If someone who cultivated was here, they would definitely understand that this person was at the God realm cultivation level. And this person is no other than the 9th in the God ranking, hijacking, whose name is Kusanagi Wang. Father, it was me who lost my temper. This middle-aged man hurriedly said in fear.
This middle-aged man was the current helmsman of the Kusanagi family, Kusanagi Hollow, and the father of Kusanagi Kenji, who was raised by him.
Go! Hijack coldly said, and then walked towards the statue of Susanoo's man.
Kusanagi Hollow hurriedly followed. The two of them walked to the statue of Susanoo man and did not stop. Instead, they crashed into the statue, and after crashing into the statue, ripples unexpectedly appeared at that spot, and then a doorway appeared before the two of them walked in. After entering, it was a small room, and within the room was a blind old man wearing a yin-yang master. The old man was kneeling there, his breath slowly flowing naturally, as if he was connected to the heavens and earth, and could invoke the power of the heavens and earth at any time. There was no doubt that this person had the same God realm cultivation. This old man's name is Abe Jinming, is the great yin and yang master of the Heavenly Manor Palace. In front of Abe Jinming is a statue of a man of Susa that is only the size of the palm of a hand and is completely sculpted from jade. And this statue was unexpectedly steaming with blood, as if crimson flames were burning, while tears of blood were appearing above its hideous face. A wave of anger was surging. Abe, what happened? Why has Lord Suda suddenly awakened? Hijack looked at Abe Jinming and asked. Abe Jinming didn't answer. Instead, he kept changing gestures in his hands before releasing a spell.
All of a sudden, the eyes on the jade-carved idol violently bloomed with crimson light. Xia, in the Xia kingdom, someone destroyed my doppelganger. I'm going to tear him to shreds. A low, rage-filled voice came out from within the statue, and at the same time, a terrifying power surged out crazily as if it were a monstrous wave. Buzz buzz buzz. Along with this power, the entire Ten-Man Palace shrine began to vibrate, and the people within the Ten-Man Palace, no matter if they were ordinary people or people with cultivation at this moment, all of them trembled, even their souls trembled, and they could not bear it and knelt down on both knees. The two of them, Hijack and Abe Jinming, changed their faces instantly. Lord Susanoo's split soul is within the ring of Susanoo. This ring is in the hands of my son Kusanagi Kenji. Could it be that something has happened to him? Kusanagi Hollow said with a trembling voice. What is Kusanagi Kenji doing in the Summer Kingdom? Hijack asked as he looked to his son. He's using the Nakajima family to plot something big in the Summer Kingdom, but someone who can shatter Lord Susa's split soul is bound to be in the God Realm. Kusanagi Hollow said in a hurry. God Realm? The Summer Country is deep. There are many God Realm powerhouses. There are even many God Realm old monsters hiding not to come out. Could it be that Kusanagi Kenji has offended which God Realm old monster? Hijack said with a grave expression on his face. The Summer Country is extremely strong. In the surface of the God Realm may be so few, but the Summer Country hidden God Realm old monster is absolutely quite a lot. There were even some God Realm old monsters that had crossed several centuries and stepped onto the path of legends. I don't care, the one who dares to destroy my split soul, I'll drag him into hell and make him pulverize his bones for eternity.
The man of Suzaku let out a roaring voice. This voice was merely emitted from a jade statue, but this voice contained a terrifying and incomparable power, as if every word contained the force of 1,000 pounds, and everything in the surroundings began to crumble because of this voice, as if this place was going to be completely destroyed in the next moment. Yes, Lord Susa, we will definitely uncover this person and offer him to you. Abe Jinmei knelt heavily at Lord Susanoo, then solemnly said. As Abe Jinming's words fell, the power released by the statue only gradually disappeared, while the others only breathed a sigh of relief at this moment. No matter if it was Hijack or Abe Jinming, who were both God Realm powerhouses, they still couldn't withstand the wrath of this god. This god was the one who descended on the Japanese nation thousands of years ago, sealed the Yamanano Orochi, saved the Japanese nation from destruction, and has been a god of worship ever since. The 3 divine weapons of the land of the sun were brought by this god, and legend had it that this god came from the temple of the gods in the sky. Contact Kusanagi Kenji and the Nakajima family and ask what the hell is going on. Hijack turned to his son, Kusanagi Hollow, and said, "Yes, Lord Father." Kusanagi Hollow then said, "The Kusanagi family enshrined the god of Suzaku, and their power was terrifyingly abnormal within the Japanese nation, enough to influence the political situation in the Japanese nation, and with Hijack's order, the Kusanagi family's terrifying power in the Japanese nation immediately went into operation." Jinling City, Neon Pavilion. Chen Fan, who was far away in the summer country, rescued Sony after killing Kusanagi Kenji. "Chen Fan, I don't even know how to thank you." Sony no longer knew how to thank Chen Fan for stepping in to save him. "Just do it casually, if you really want to thank me, I'll go have a drink at your wedding with Nakajima Ayuki." Chen Fan said. Nakajima Aishua and Sony were flattered when they heard this. Chen Fan's status, Sony couldn't even think of inviting him here, but now Chen Fan came voluntarily, which he would never have expected. Nakajima Aishua and Sony hurriedly responded. "Aishua, our Nakajima family is finished." Just at this moment, Nakajima Ichiro walked in disoriented. "Dad, what happened?" Nakajima Ayuki looked towards her father. Although she hated her father for using her as a marriage tool, she also understood her father's helplessness, especially after knowing the terror of the God Realm. If the Nakajima family didn't have a God Realm powerhouse as a backer, the Nakajima family would inevitably be annihilated in the face of the Jin Chamber of Commerce. And all that was wrong was only that Kusanagi Kenji was simply too vicious, devising so many plots. The Kusanagi family knows that Kusanagi Kenji is in trouble, and has now ordered that the murderer be handed over within 5 days, and now the Japanese and Oceanic Chamber of Commerce regards our Nakajima family as a scourge, and is forcing me to bring people to the Japanese country, or else exterminate our Nakajima family, Nakajima Ichiro said with despair on his face. Upon hearing this, Chen Fan said with a faint smile, "Then I will personally go to the Kusanagi family." Chapter 343, Extermination, of course. In Japan, an airplane coming from the Summer Kingdom stopped at the international airport in Osaka Prefecture. Chen Fan stepped out of the airport and saw a team of people waiting to greet him. At the head of the group was a woman with sexy clothes and a hot body. The woman's name was Sasaki Saori. The Nippon and Ocean Chamber of Commerce consisted of many Japanese business families, with the Nakajima family being the first and the Sasaki family being the second. And Sasaki Saori was the representative of the Sasaki family within the Chamber of Commerce. "You're the Mr. Chen that Uncle Nakajima was talking about?" When Saori Sasaki saw Chen Fan, she then asked with a smile. Chen Fan traveled to the Kusanagi family, who needed to lead the way. It was just that Nakajima Ichiro had already been intimidated by Chen Fan's strength, so naturally he didn't dare to offend him, but he didn't dare to offend the Kusanagi family either. Because of that, he really didn't dare to get involved in the strife between the divine realms. Therefore, he simply contacted the Sasaki family and threw the matter to the Sasaki family. And the Sasaki family, taking the initiative to take this matter on, this really made Nakajima Ichiro feel relieved. Sasaki Saori looked at Chen Fan, a smile appeared on her face as she said to Chen Fan, "Mr. Chen, we are also under pressure from the Kusanagi family, so please also come with me. Don't worry, I won't be rough, as long as you cooperate." Chen Fan looked at Sasaki Saori and said in his heart, born with a seductive body, she also practiced the art of seduction. Sasaki Saori, with delicate features and fair skin, had a beauty mole at the corner of her mouth, while her eyes had eye waves that flowed and swirled as if they could seduce people. Of course, this is not the point. Because she was born with a seductive body and practiced the art of seduction, her knitted brows and smile were all flirtatious,
and it was still difficult for the average man to resist this charm. In the immortal cultivation world, the best place for a seductive body to go is to go to the Acacia sect, practicing seductive techniques and dual cultivation techniques. This kind of seductive body, if the art of seduction was practiced to the extreme, even Chen Fan would find it difficult to resist. As for this Sasaki Saori's seduction technique in front of her was considered good on earth, but compared to the seduction technique of the Acacia sect, it was a far cry, and it was naturally impossible for Chen Fan to be neutralized. Chen Fan also did not talk nonsense with Sasaki Saori and rode in the car with her.
Mr. Chen, I really admire you too much, you actually killed Kusanagi Kenji.
In the car, Sasaki Saori sat on the side of Chen Fan, her body exuding an ethereal fragrance, her pair of charming eyes glowing as she said adoringly to Chen Fan in a not-so-standard summer language.
Chen Fan looked at Sasaki Saori, while asking in standard Japanese, the Kusanagi family just told you that I killed Kusanagi Kenji? Mr. Chen, you actually know Japanese and it's so standard, it's really awesome. Sasaki Saori said with glowing eyes at Chen Fan.
With the divine soul strength of Chen Fan's level, not to mention the Japanese language, even if he were to learn all the languages on earth, it would only take a few minutes. You haven't answered my question.
Chen Fan said. Yeah, the Kusanagi family just said that, Mr. Chen, you killed Kusanagi Kenji, and that we, the Nippon and Yang Chamber of Commerce, must be responsible for it, so I can't do anything about it.
Sasaki Saori said with a seductive tone.
Don't use the charm technique on me, it's useless.
Chen Fan said indifferently.
No way, I just happen to look like this.
Sasaki Saori continued to say, between the words, she also deliberately warped the snow-white thighs, showing that it was extremely seductive. However, just as her words fell, she suddenly felt a powerful spiritual impact, instantly causing her to have a splitting headache, and she continuously let out painful moans. This process lasted for roughly 10 seconds or so before it stopped. After it stopped, cold sweat broke out on Sasaki Saori's forehead as her eyes stared at Chen Fan in terror. Can you talk properly now? Chen Fan said with a smile. Hearing this, Sasaki Saori calmed down her emotions, stopped using her charming techniques, and said in a normal tone, the Kusanagi family only told us that you killed Kusanagi Kenji, and demanded that the Chamber of Commerce take you to the Kusanagi family, or else the Kusanagi family would use their power to make us destroyed, but it just seemed that Mr.
Chen should be a great master of the Tao.
Chen Fan smiled without saying anything when he heard this. As for Sasaki Saori, when she looked at Chen Fan's expression, her heart thumped and she immediately had a bad feeling. The reason why the Sasaki family dared to go out of their way to bring Chen Fan to the Kusanagi family was because the information the Sasaki family had gotten from the Kusanagi family's side was that the murderer's strength was at most that of a Grand Master. Facing a Grand Master, the Sasaki family could completely handle it because the Sasaki family had a peak Grand Master martial artist as their envoy. The Sasaki family would definitely be able to deal with a Grand Master. That was why the Sasaki family was willing to step forward and take on the task of bringing back Chen Fan to curry favor with the Kusanagi family. As long as they could get on the Kusanagi family's good side, the Sasaki family would be able to rely on the Kusanagi family's divine realm powerhouses on their backs, and from then on, they would be able to move up a level, and they would also be able to solve the Chamber of Commerce's current problem with the Jin's Chamber of Commerce. This was definitely a heavenly good thing for the Sasaki family. And just now, Sasaki Saori was testing Chen Fan's strength with her charm technique. If it was a martial arts Grand Master and his spiritual power was not strong enough, he would definitely be affected by her charm technique, and then he could easily pin down Chen Fan. And the result of this test told her that Chen Fan was not a martial arts Grandmaster, but a Tao Grandmaster. However, this was not a difficult task for them. The Sasaki family could still handle it. Soon, the vehicle stopped driving into a village on the outskirts of Osaka Prefecture. This was the Sasaki family's residence, Sasaki Village. It seemed that the Sasaki family had no immediate plans to take Chen Fan to the Kusanagi family. Are you the one who killed Kusanagi Kenji? Immediately after Chen Fan and Sasaki Saori got off the bus, a middle-aged man with a group of people said arrogantly to Chen Fan. This middle-aged man was Asayama Akira, the peak Grand Master provider of the Sasaki family. Chen Fan took one look at these people then asked Sasaki Saori, this is not the Kusanagi family, what are you doing bringing me here? Sasaki Saori smiled at Chen Fan and said, Mr. Chen, I'm just a weak woman, I'm just following the clan's order to bring you to the Sasaki family first, as for the rest I couldn't care less. Do you know what the consequences of bringing me here will be? Chen Fan asked. What consequences? Sasaki Saori asked with a smile. Of course it's extermination. Chen Fan said with a smirk.
Sasaki Saori's face stiffened at hearing that. And Akira Asayama froze for a moment when he heard it, ready to speak. However, before he could say anything, he felt a palm imprint fly over, a mountain-like power then crushed, and then bang, the body exploded, turned into a blood mist, no bones left. For a moment, Sasaki Saori froze there. Next, she saw a scene like hell. Only to see that Chen Fan was walking leisurely towards Sasaki village, and wherever he passed, there were no bones left. Chapter 344, I'll give you a chance to be a dog. Sasaki Saori was frozen there, looking at Chen Fan as he walked and killed his way into the Sasaki family. No, it couldn't be called killing at all, it should be more like stomping on dead ants as if they were walking inside. Wherever Chen Fan passed by, the bodies of the Sasaki family were all directly crumbled into blood and mist, with no bones left. In Sasaki Saori's eyes, Chen Fan was no longer a human being, but a demonic god from the depths of hell, a god of killing. This extreme terror caused Sasaki Saori to only watch in stupefaction as her clan members were crushed to death by Chen Fan like ants. Sasaki Saori didn't know how long she was frozen, when suddenly an ice-cold voice sounded in her mind, "Roll in." This voice instantly brought her back to her senses, and her eyes looked at Sasaki village in horror. At this moment, the village was already flowing with blood, and she didn't know how many people had died in Sasaki village, and her body was so stiff and incomparable that in the end, she didn't know how she managed to walk into Sasaki village, into the Sasaki family Great Hall. Inside the Grand Hall, the head of the Sasaki family, Sasaki Saori's grandfather, Sasaki Nanshong, trembled as he knelt in front of Chen Fan. "My lord, spare us, my lord, spare us, we are only following the orders of the Kusanagi family, please spare our Sasaki family, we are willing to give you everything, be it wealth or women." Sasaki Nanshong knelt on the ground floor and begged Chen Fan bitterly. Chen Fan ignored Sasaki Nanshong's pleading and instead looked at Sasaki Saori and asked indifferently, "Bringing me here for this result?" When Sasaki Saori heard Chen Fan's words, her petite body trembled, and her feet went limp as she knelt down in front of Chen Fan with a bang, her voice trembling as she said, "Chen, Lord Chen, please spare us, we did it because we listened to the Kusanagi family, we really didn't mean to do it." Yes, it's all the Kusanagi family's fault, Lord Chen, please spare us, as long as you spare us, the Sasaki family has 1 trillion yen in assets, I'll give them all to you. And women, our Japanese women are naturally beautiful, I can find you the best Japanese women. My granddaughter, Saori, is a special thing, I give her to you, please spare us. Sasaki Nanshong knelt on the ground and continuously kowtowed and begged at Chen Fan. How could the Sasaki family not have imagined that what they originally thought was an opportunity to take off was ushered in by a terrifying killing god? If they had known that Chen Fan was such a person, they would never have dared to participate in this matter. It was also at this moment that the people of the Sasaki family sort of understood why the Nakajima family was willing to hand this matter over to them. It was entirely because Nakajima Ikiru had already known that Chen Fan was not someone to be messed with. "Lord Chen, whatever you care to ask me to do is fine, please let us go, we are really innocent as well, everything wrong is the Kusanagi family's fault." Sasaki Saori also begged Chen Fan frantically from the side. "It's all the Kusanagi family's fault? In that case, you don't hate me at all for killing so many people from your Sasaki family, it's the Kusanagi family that you hate?" Chen Fan asked with a smile on his face as he listened to the words of this grandfather and grandson. "No, we don't hate Lord Chen at all, we only hate the Kusanagi family, he is the one who harmed the Sasaki family, everything is the fault of the Sasaki family, it's definitely not your fault that you're going on a killing spree here, it's our fault, it's the Kusanagi family's fault." Sasaki Nanshong hurriedly said. "That's right, Lord Chen, we definitely won't hate you, you have to know that we Japanese will only worship the strong, we definitely won't hate the strong." Sasaki Saori also said. Chen Fan's brows frowned when he heard this. He had read Xiao's remarks about the Japanese nation on the internet, and one of them was that the Japanese nation was strange from top to bottom, they never thanked or honored those who had good intentions towards them, they only worshipped those who rubbed them on the ground. For example, at the time of the Second World War, Millikan was the most ruthless country to the Japanese nation, and even dropped 2 nuclear bombs, but the Japanese nation did not hold any grudges at all. Not only did they not hold any grudges, but they also kept on being Millikan's dog. Now, looking at it like this, Chen Fan felt that it really wasn't wrong. Japanese country, this country from top to bottom, is owed to fight, hit the service, they not only will not hate you, will be very happy to give you as a dog. Then do you want to take revenge on the Kusanagi family? Chen Fan asked rhetorically. I want to, all of this is the Kusanagi family framing us, if they had told us that Lord Chen had such strength, we would never have offended Lord Chen, Sasaki Saori said without hesitation. Good, I'll give you guys a chance to be dogs. Chen Fan said. Sasaki Saori and Sasaki Nanshan were relieved when they heard that.
If you guys are not competent enough to be my dogs, I will still exterminate Sasaki's entire clan, Chen Fan said indifferently. And as soon as these words came out, the body of this pair of grandparents and grandchildren instantly stiffened, and they kowtowed to Chen Fan, swearing to be Chen Fan's loyal dogs. After killing the Sasaki family to their knees, Chen Fan did not immediately head to the Kusanagi family, but wanted to ask something about the three divine weapons. At this moment, Chen Fan was comfortably soaking in the hot spring, with young girls wearing hidden tulle on both sides waiting on the side. These two girls were quite beautiful, childish, completely schoolgirl level. This was the Sasaki family deliberately spent a lot of money to select to serve Chen Fan. It was just that Chen Fan had no thoughts about the two carnal mortal women. All of you step back, I'll serve Lord Chen. Just at this moment, an enchanting voice came out, then a graceful figure walked through the steaming hot air to Chen Fan's side. The person who came was Sasaki Saori. At this moment, she was draped in a thin veil, which outlined her forward and backward figure, and that innate foxy demeanor made her exude an extreme flirtatious demeanor.
Sasaki Saori took a step into the hot spring and swam towards Chen Fan. "Master, let me serve you," Sasaki Saori said as she looked towards Chen Fan with a bewitching face.
"I said, don't use charming techniques on me, it's useless." Chen Fan looked at Sasaki Saori and said, "Master, I did not I was born so, and master, slave is still a virgin
Sasaki Saori smiled charmingly.
After saying that, she dove into the water and began to serve. Chen Fan was indifferent. This Sasaki Saori, as a seductive body, was extremely suitable to be used as a cauldron for cultivation, only that Chen Fan didn't care to use the cultivation method of harvesting. He would only use the method of dual cultivation to cultivate with a female cultivator, only that Sasaki Saori's cultivation level was too low, so he did not have the slightest idea of dual cultivation with Sasaki Saori. However, Chen Fan did not stop Sasaki Saori from serving him either.
"You should know about the three divine artifacts, right?" Chen Fan asked.
When Sasaki heard Chen Fan's words, she burrowed out of the water and gasped for breath as she asked, "Master wants to know about the three divine artifacts?" "Yes, I want to know the origin of the three divine artifacts as well as their whereabouts," Chen Fan said. "The three divine weapons, legend has it that they are the divine weapons brought by the Suzaku no man from the Hall of Gods,"
Sasaki Saori said. Chapter 345, This person is here for the three divine weapons. Brought from the Temple of the Gods? Chen Fan frowned slightly.
This is also a legend. The legend says that thousands of years ago, an eight-headed serpent known as the Yagi Orochi appeared in the land of the sun, jeopardizing the four directions in the land of the sun, and the forefathers of the land of the sun almost perished. At that time a witch prayed to the gods. This prayer was answered, and above the sky legend has it that an ethereal shrine appeared, and from this shrine, a god descended. This deity brought with him the Tensho cloud sword, the 8-foot agaric hook jade, and the 8-foot mirror, descended to the land of the rising sun, and fought a great battle with the Yagyu Orochi, and finally sealed the Yagyu Orochi with the might of the three divine weapons. And this god was called by the ancestors of the Japanese nation as Susanoo. Sasaki Saori spoke in great detail about the origins of the three divine artifacts and Susanoo. Chen Fan's brows furrowed as he listened, but all three divine artifacts exist, so it's not a legend. Once Sasaki Saori heard this, she flirted a bit and nodded. "That's right, it's even rumored that the man of Suzaku is still in the Japanese country, still within the Kusanagi family."
The man of Suzaku was still in the Kusanagi family?
Chen Fan asked with some surprise.
This is also a legend. The legend says that Susanoo no Masuwa fought with the Orochi and was severely injured, so he did not return to the Hall of Gods, but stayed at the Tenmanga Shrine to recuperate, Sasaki Saori said. "Then do you know about the Hall of Gods?" Chen Fan asked.
Sasaki Saori, on the other hand, shook her head and said, "The Hall of Gods, that's really just a legend. The legend says that it's a place where countless gods reside, located in a place where we'll never be able to go to, but I feel that it's just a nebulous legend that doesn't exist." Chen Fan smiled and thought about it. It did sound nebulous, so he didn't look into it deeply. After that, he stood up. When Sasaki Saori saw Chen Fan suddenly stand up, her face was startled and she said nervously, "Master, is it because my slave didn't serve you well?" "No need," Chen Fan said indifferently and walked towards the outside. Sasaki Saori's complexion dimmed when she saw Chen Fan leaving. "Pick a time to take me to the Kusanagi family." Just at the moment when Sasaki Saori was lost, Chen Fan's voice drifted over yes. Sasaki Saori immediately said,
He hadn't done anything at all to hide the fact that Chen Fan had killed the Sasaki family, and furthermore, Chen Fan had killed so many people that such a thing was bound to be spread, not to mention, the Kusanagi family had been keeping an eye on the Sasaki family. Therefore, this matter was immediately spread amongst the Kusanagi family after it happened. In the quiet room where the statue of Susanoo was enshrined, several people were sitting in it. Have you investigated clearly what it is? The Sasaki family didn't even last an hour. Amber Jinmei asked. Although the Sasaki family is not as good as our Kusanagi family, within the Sasaki village, there are thousands of people, and there are a large number of modern heat weapons from the Millikan, with a large number of sovereign masters among them, and there is even Asayama Akira, who is at the peak of the great sovereign masters, in the room. Even if I were to personally go there, it would be impossible for me to trample the Sasaki family to extinction in such a short period of time. With such strength, it must be a top-level God Realm powerhouse from the Xia Kingdom? Who could it be? Hijack said with a grave expression on his face. That God-ranking number 1 Qin Qingshin? Kusanagi Void suddenly said. Even if it's the number 1 on the God ranking, it's impossible to do it in such a short period of time. Hijack immediately denied the claim. He was, after all, the 9th God Realm powerhouse on the God ranking, and he was more or less acquainted with the powerhouses above the God ranking, such as God, Arthur Pendragon, and Count Dracula, who he was naturally no match for. However, he didn't think that these people could step over Sasaki village so easily, at least not in less than an hour. Although Qin Qingshan was at the top of the God ranking, how big could the gap be? Moreover, we have no grudge against Qin Qingshan. Why is he here? Hijack added. Then who could it be? Amber Jinming asked, when did such a terrifying God Realm powerhouse appear in the Xia Kingdom? Could it really be an old monster from the Xia Kingdom? No, Lord Ampere and Lord Hijack, this person is not some old monster, but a young man. Just at this moment, a delicate voice came out, then a mature woman in a black ninja suit walked in and said. The crowd immediately looked at the person who spoke, while Kusanagi Void couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva the moment he looked at this woman. This was a mature woman like a peach, wearing a tight-fitting ninja uniform that outlined her hot body to the fullest. This woman's appearance is not much outstanding, but with a unique mature flavor, especially this kind of plump body, especially the mountains in front of the chest, really exudes the ultimate temptation. This makes Kusanagi virtual look at the heart is extremely hot. Only, he also just think about it, after all, this woman is the leader of the Yachi Ninja, and her name of Black Heim means Black Widow. Any man who climbed into her bed, without exception, disappeared. Kuroheim, you found the news? Rob said as he immediately looked at the woman. Kuroheim took out a cell phone and said, this is a picture taken by my men who were sent into Sasaki's house and risked their lives to take it. Luckily the man didn't bother to check these instruments and cell phones that fell on the ground. I just infiltrated Sasaki's village and got this cell phone, so you can see for yourselves. With that, the men opened the photos on the cell phone. After they saw the photo on the cell phone, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cool air. In the middle of the photo, they saw a handsome man in casual clothes with short black hair standing in the center of the photo, while rivers of blood flowed horizontally around him, as well as countless firearms. This was the scene where Chen Fan killed his way into the Sasaki family. In the middle of this photo, Chen Fan stood in the midst of the flowing river of blood, truly as if he was a god of killing from the depths of hell, and just looking at him made one's scalp go numb. I've already investigated, Sasaki village is inhabited by more than 6,000 people, and in this battle, the people within Sasaki village were trampled to death by the other party as if they were mole crickets, and no one was able to block his strike, Kuroheim said in a delicate voice. Heiji's voice was extremely seductive, anyone who heard it would be tickled to death, it was just that the words she uttered right now would only cause everyone to fear. What exactly is this person's origin, and how could he be so young? When did such a terrifying young god realm appear in the Xia Kingdom? Hijack's scalp went numb after he saw Chen Fan's true face. He thought it was an old monster, but this was too young. With this kind of terrifying strength, could it be the entry of the descendants of the legendary ancient immortal descendants of the Summer Kingdom? Amber Jinming suddenly said. When everyone heard the words ancient immortal descendant, their faces all changed. Impossible, if an ancient immortal descendant enters the world, the Hall of Gods won't sit idly by. Suddenly Susan Noman let out a low voice. Everyone let out a slight sigh of relief when they heard this. Right, if the ancient immortal descendant appeared, it was absolutely impossible for the Hall of Gods to sit idly by. Then what exactly is his purpose to be like this? Our Kusanagi family has no grudge against this person. Hijack asked in a deep voice.
This person, such strength, I'm afraid that it's not far from the realm of legends, just the realm of legends is how divine. Within the Summer Kingdom only the ancient immortal descendants have the method to become the realm of legends. And I have the Kusanagi sword here. If he can obtain the other two divine weapons, he will be able to obtain the method of stepping into the realm of legends.
Susanoo once again let out a low voice.
When the masters present heard this, their complexion changed. This man turned out to be targeting the three divine weapons, which had the method to achieve the realm of legends, but the 8-length mirror has been destroyed at the Izumo shrine.
Kuroheim said. It must be the work of this person as well. Susanoo let out a low, unmistakable voice. As soon as everyone heard it, it seemed like everything connected. At this moment, everyone knew that it was a mysterious strong person who was about to step into the realm of legends, and that the land of Xia failed to search for the method to enter the realm of legends, so he could only come to the land of Japan and seize the three divine weapons. This person, no matter destroying my split soul, or to seize the three divine weapons, I will not allow. Go to fetch the 8-foot Agaric Hookjade to me. This god must make this person's corpse without bones. Susanoo man let out another voice of anger. Chapter 346, He is my master.
Chen Fan and Saori Sasaki were sitting next to each other on the Shinkansen train traveling from Osaka Prefecture to Kyoto Prefecture. The Kusanagi family was at Tenmanga Shrine, and Sasaki Saori proposed to take the Shinkansen there, and after arriving at the station, a special train would be arranged there to go to Tenmanga Shrine, which would be the fastest. Chen Fan naturally did not care what method he used to get to Tenmanga Shrine.
The Shinkansen train made a stop and some new passengers came up. Can I sit next to you?
Suddenly, a sweet voice came from Chen Fan's side. Chen Fan then glanced towards the person who spoke. It was a fashionable and pretty woman with long hair draped over her shoulders and a fiery figure, especially those legs and slim pants which were thin and long, and with the woman's pretty makeup, she appeared to be very attractive. The moment the woman saw Chen Fan look up, her eyes lit up, and she was even a bit smitten. Chen Fan's handsome appearance immediately attracted the woman. Chen Fan nodded, signaling that he could sit. The woman then happily sat on Chen Fan's side, and after the woman sat down, Sasaki Saori glanced towards the woman, with obvious dissatisfaction in her eyes. The woman naturally felt Sasaki Saori's gaze, and then glanced at Sasaki Saori. The light that appeared in her eyes was clearly surprised by Sasaki Saori's appearance. Sasaki Saori's kind of unique seduction was not only effective on men, but also had an effect on women.
Hello, my name is Niashiaro, I'm from Xia, I'm here on a trip, can we get to know each other? The woman greeted Chen Fan in Japanese.
Chen Fan heard the woman's voice, glanced at Niashiaro, and said flatly in summer Chinese, Chen Fan? Niashiaro was pleasantly surprised when she heard Chen Fan speak in Xia language and said, You are also a Xia citizen, this is too much of a coincidence. Chen Fan didn't answer, his attitude appeared to be very cold. Niashiaro was slightly stunned when she saw Chen Fan's attitude was so cold, but she was originally a lively girl, and she had met a hometown of Xia in another country, or a super handsome man, so she immediately recovered and put her head close to Chen Fan's ear and asked in a low voice, Is that big beautiful girl over there your girlfriend? Because of the close proximity, Niashiro's breath was already puffing on Chen Fan's ear, exhaling like orchids, a move that was obviously too intimate for a stranger. Chen Fan's brows wrinkled, obviously a little dissatisfied with this intimate move of Niashiaro.
Shiaro.
Suddenly, an extremely unpleasant voice came from the side. Niashiaro didn't wait for Chen Fan to reply. Instead, she heard this voice and instantly rolled her eyes before looking at the person who had spoken and grunted, What's all the shouting about? It's not like I'm familiar with you. The one who spoke was a man wearing gold-rimmed glasses. The man was dressed as an elite white-collar man, with a good appearance, and his age looked to be 27 or 18 years old. What do you mean?
Deliberately pissing me off?
This elite man questioned Niashiaro with a sullen face.
What's it to you if I meet new friends? Besides, what's wrong with you thinking that I'm angry at you, that is? You're the one who's dead set on following me.
Niashiaro said to the man without any politeness at all. The man was speechless. In a few short conversations, Chen Fan already knew that the male was most likely Niashiro's licking dog. However, he was also too lazy to care about this shit, and he was also too lazy to answer her about her own relationship with Sasaki Saori. Niashiaro didn't get discouraged when she saw Chen Fan ignoring her and asked again.
He's my master.
This time, Chen Fan didn't answer, but Sasaki Saori spoke in Japanese. Although Sasaki Saori was using Japanese, she still understood the word Niashiaro Gohojin-sama.
This was the meaning of master.
This Chen Fan was actually the master of a Japanese woman. This quickly made her think of the unspoken relationship that was popular on the internet.
Master and slave girl. No way, You even said master, you can't be from that circle. The elite man seemed to have caught the opportunity to immediately sneer. Xiaohao, no one else said anything, what are you talking about? Nie Xiaoro immediately spoke out. When Xiaohao heard this, he was that angry in his heart, and even thought, is this Nie Xiaoro secretly like that, so he sneered and said, Master, slave girl, playing that kind of master's mission game? If you dare to speak one more word of nonsense, I'll kill you. Suddenly, Sasaki Saori looked at Xiaohao and said in a murderous manner Sasaki Saori was at least practicing enchanting arts and had a high position in the Sasaki family, and when this solemn tone of hers came out, her face immediately turned white with fear and she immediately shut up, only to have more resentment in her eyes. This great beauty, don't pay attention to him, why are you calling him Master Ah? Nie Xiaoro still asked with some curiosity. Because my master is strong enough, because it was my master who spared me, therefore, he is my master. Sasaki Saori said bluntly. Nie Xiaoro froze at what Sasaki Saori said, completely unable to understand the meaning of this great beauty's words. However, no matter what, Nie Xiaoro heard that Chen Fan was definitely extremely excellent. Then Nie Xiaoro digressed and started a casual conversation. Although Chen Fan's attitude remained cold, Nie Xiaoro still talked non-stop, mostly about herself. Chen Fan, on the other hand, was helpless to occasionally respond with a few words. But he also learned some things about Nie Xiaoro. Nie Xiaoro was the young lady of the Nie family in Zhongdu, while Xiaohao was a collateral of the Xiao family of the 5 great families. Nie Xiaoro was forced to go on a blind date with Xiaohao, who naturally looked at Nie Xiaoro, but Nie Xiaoro wasn't half interested. As a result, Nie Xiaoro was not able to win, and finally ran to Japan to the heart. The results were their girlfriends backstabbing, told this to Xiaohao, which Xiaohao also chased all the way over. Nie Xiaoro, in order to get rid of Xiaohao, that is to use all sorts of methods, in the Japanese country running around, wherever to go. Her next location is the Japanese country's famous Ten Manga Shrine. Originally, I wanted to go to Azumo Shrine, but there was an explosion there and it hasn't been rebuilt yet, so I came to Ten Manga Shrine. Sister Saori, the legend says that there are gods living in the Ten Manga Shrine, isn't that true? Nie Xiaoro was really a bit self-conscious and asked Saori Sasaki. I don't know. Sasaki Saori really wasn't overwhelmed and coldly answered. Soon, the train arrived at the station, and Chen Fan nodded to Nie Xiaoro as a goodbye, before heading with Sasaki Saori to the special car that would pick them up to go to the Ten Manga Shrine. What the hell, being handsome is a big deal? Still master, slave girl, just a beast. Xiaohao said with great jealousy. Nie Xiaoro blankly glanced at Xiaohao and said with a contemptuous face, handsome is also a talent. Moreover, don't you see, that big beauty is not at all addressing Chen Fan as her master because of her handsomeness, it's entirely because Chen Fan is awesome. This Xiaohao was definitely far inferior to Chen Fan in her heart. Xiaohao had a disdainful look on his face before saying, I am a member of the Xiao family. Nie Xiaoro rolled her eyes and didn't want to pay attention to him, directly running to take a taxi to the Tianman Palace Shrine, while Xiaohao naturally followed. Chapter 347, Come Out and Lead the Death. Chen Fan and Sasaki Saori boarded a special car that had already been prepared to head to the Ten Manga Shrine. Miss, that side already knows that you and Mr. Chen are coming and has already closed the shrine. Inside the special car, a deacon of the Sasaki family told Chen Fan and Sasaki Saori about the Ten Manga Shrine. The Kusanagi family is making all preparations to welcome their master. Sasaki Saori smiled as she heard this. Chen Fan had gone on a killing spree in the Sasaki family, and the Sasaki family was obviously the pawn that the Kusanagi family had used to test Chen Fan, and now the Sasaki family had been killed and submitted. Obviously, the Kusanagi family had already gotten the news, and also knew that Chen Fan's next destination would definitely be to the Ten Manga Shrine, so naturally, they would also make all the preparations. Doesn't matter. Chen Fan responded. Sasaki Saori let out a faint smile when she heard Chen Fan's words. This was the confidence of the number 1 on the god ranking list, Chen Xian. After becoming Chen Fan's slave, Sasaki Saori had already learned from Chen Fan that he was the No. 1 on the god ranking, Chen Xian. And this made her hate the Kusanagi family even more. The Kusanagi family had unexpectedly not told her such an important matter, otherwise, how could the Sasaki family not have gone to mess with Chen Xian? Going to mess with the number 1 on the god ranking was an act of asking for destruction. However, it was quite fortunate now. Master Chen Xian was willing to take in the Sasaki family as a dog, so it was considered that he had found a big backer. However, Sasaki Saori still had regrets in her heart that she hadn't been able to properly serve her master at the hot springs that night. Soon, the vehicle arrived in front of a mountain.
This mountain was very large in scale, with many peaks, each with a variety of buildings with Japanese characteristics, while around the bottom of the mountain was a small town of more than 100,000 inhabitants.
Tenmango Shrine is located on the largest peak.
The mountain path leading to the shrine was specially repaired, and there were quite a few tourists and believers on it. Master, this Tenmanga shrine has blessed the local residents from time to time, so the residents of this area are extremely reverent towards the Tenmanga shrine. As such, the Kusanagi family is nearly a godlike existence in this area. Sasaki Saori guided the way for Chen Fan while introducing this famous Japanese shrine to him.
Chen Fan looked towards the shrine and opened his eyes of true vision, his brows frowning slightly as a touch of surprise permeated his heart. Are there two of them here?
In Chen Fan's eyes, he saw two Chaos Pearl Dao rhythm fragment breaths, which made him a bit surprised.
Thus, he asked, 8-foot Kianhu Jade, do you know where it is? 8-foot Agaric Hook Jade?
Sasaki Saori froze for a moment at his words, then said, Master, the 8-foot Kianuwo Jade originally fell into the hands of the Yagami family, but 100 years ago, the Yagami family committed a serious crime, and after that, they were exterminated, so the 8-foot Kianuwo Jade is nowhere to be found.
Unknown whereabouts?
Chen Fan frowned slightly at that.
However, there are also rumors that the 8-foot Agaric Hook Jade fell into the hands of the Kusanagi family. In reality, no matter which family's hands it fell into, the true owner of the 3 divine weapons is the Man of Susa. It is just that the Man of Susa was unable to control the 3 divine weapons because of the serious injuries that he suffered. That's why it was given to the 3 families, and of course the price is that the 3 families have to help the Man of Susa heal his injuries. Sasaki Saori told Chen Fan all that she knew. Recovering from injuries? Eating a lot of people's souls, I guess.
Chen Fan said as his eyes narrowed slightly at the words. In Chen Fan's eyes, in addition to seeing the Chaos Pearl Dao rhyme fragment, he also saw that there was a grievous gas in the depths, and in the grievous gas, there were countless grievous souls emitting the sound of ghostly cries and howls. Only this sound could not be heard by the general public, and only those who had strong divine soul power could hear and see it. When Sasaki Saori heard this, her face changed and she said, Master, there are indeed many people who have disappeared for no reason after entering the shrine. Could it be? Chen Fan smiled without saying anything, while Sasaki Saori understood that she was definitely not lying, and that Susanoo Man was obviously the evil god. The two of them walked along the steps of the mountain path towards the Tenmanga shrine.
Zo, what's the point of going to the shrine? If it's blocked off, it's blocked off. I'll take you somewhere else to play, wherever you want to go.
When he was halfway there, a voice suddenly came out while the language was still in Xiagua language. Chen Fan then looked forward, and this time, he saw Nishiro covering her mouth and looking at Chen Fan with glowing eyes. Chen Fan was naturally surprised. How did he run into Nishiro and Xiaohao again?
Chen Fan, so you are also going to the Heavenly Manor Palace Shrine. What a coincidence.
Nishiro hurriedly ran over and said joyfully to Chen Fan. When they parted on the Shinkansen, Nishiro didn't ask for Chen Fan's contact information, thinking that she would never meet this big handsome guy again, but she met him again in the twinkling of an eye. Xiaohao's natural face was unsightly when he saw Chen Fan, feeling that Chen Fan was really a shadowy soul. Chen Fan, I don't know why, the shrine is well blocked, can't get in. Why don't we go to Kyoto House to play, or we can go to soak in the hot springs, just under the mountain in an inn, super famous. After Nishiro finished speaking, seeing that Chen Fan didn't have much of a reaction, she once again said enthusiastically.
The reason for the blockade is because I came.
Chen Fan set out flatly. After saying that, he rubbed shoulders with Nishiro and continued walking towards the mountain peak. Sasaki Saori, on the other hand, immediately followed and waited on her left and right. Nishiro, on the other hand, was dumbfounded when she heard this.
It's not like this guy has a pit in his brain? The Tenmanga shrine is blocked because of him? Who does he think he is?
Xiaohao couldn't help but sneer out. Nishiro, on the other hand, was silent. It was because what Chen Fan had just said was very calm and did not seem like a lie. However, she felt it was absurd again. A shrine that had been passed down in the Japanese country for 1,000 years was blocked because of a person from the summer country. How could this be possible? Xiaoro, don't pay attention to him, he'll definitely come down in ashes anyway. Xiaohao sneered again.
Let's go to Kyoto Prefecture City.
Nishiro, on the other hand, said. She wasn't prepared to chase after him to see what was going on, as she felt that something big might happen.
Didn't we say we were going to a hot spring?
Xiaohao hurriedly said upon hearing this. You love to soak yourself. Nishiro blankly glanced at Xiaohao, feeling that this man was really annoying. After saying that, she went towards the bottom of the mountain on her own. Xiaohao was said to be green and white, but still chased after Niashiaro. He himself had spent so much to chase Niashiaro, and he was very unwilling to give up now. On the other hand, Chen Fan and Sasaki Saori were currently walking fast to the top of the mountain. Above the mountaintop, the clouds were misty, and because of the blockade, no silhouettes could be seen anymore. However, Chen Fan's divine sense had long sensed that there were many people lurking in the mountain, and these people were eyeing Chen Fan intently. Soon, Chen Fan walked in front of the shrine's gate, and then let out his voice, "Suzaku no now, come out and lead the death." Chapter 348 Drones. Suzaku no man, come out and claim your death. Chen Fan's voice was not loud, but when it fell into the ears of the others, it was like thunder roaring, and in every word, it contained this surging power. The moment this voice was heard, the clouds and mists that surrounded the top of the mountain were dispersed, and the true appearance of the mountain peak where the Ten-Manga Shrine was located was revealed. Sasaki Saori, who was following Chen Fan, on the other hand, felt as if thunder had struck her ears tingling, and her body couldn't help but stagger backward. Put! Ah! And at the moment when the sound spread out, the sound of spitting blood and even the sound of screams continuously came from the surroundings. Those who hid in the shadows under Chen Fan's faint sentence of sound, the blood chi in their bodies rolled over, some spat blood, some even suffered severe pains all over their bodies, their livers and guts cracked, and they screamed miserably, and they died on the spot. Sasaki Saori recovered and looked at the scene around her. Her heart really felt like it was going to explode. Her master was truly unbelievably strong, just a casual remark had such a terrifying killing power. Crunch! At this moment, the gate of the shrine also opened, and then a group of people were seen walking out, and at the forefront was Hijack, who was wearing a samurai uniform. Hijack led the men, and when they reached a distance of more than 30 steps away from Chen Fan, these men stopped. "Your Excellency's strength is heavenly, I am truly impressed." Hijack struck an extremely respectful pose to Chen Fan and said to him, "I just don't know, how should your Excellency be addressed?" Chen Fan looked at Hijack and said indifferently, "Who are you?" "I am, the 9th in the divine ranking, Hijack." Hijack looked at Chen Fan and said respectfully, "I wonder how your Excellency should be addressed?" Only, the moment he looked at Chen Fan, he felt like he was facing an endless mountain, causing fear to arise in his heart. Chen Fan faintly reported his true lord title. He had wanted to say his Chen Fan name, but, saying it out the other party would definitely not recognize it. After all, the name Chen Fan was just too ordinary. Sure enough, after Chen Fan reported his identity, these people's faces changed. "You are that Chen Fan?" The eyes of the robber looking at Chen Fan had changed at this moment, and his voice was trembling a little. The strength of this Chen Fan had truly surpassed his imagination. However, he took a deep breath and added, "Your Excellency, I'm just a little unclear. Our Kusanagi family has no grudge against you. Why did you kill my grandson?" Chen Fan looked at Hijack and laughed coldly. "I never need to explain myself to people when I act." When the crowd heard this, their hearts trembled. This Chen Fan was too overbearing, doing things entirely based on his own preferences. Chen Fan, even though he's number 1 on the divine rankings, he's too arrogant. Kusanagi Void couldn't stand it anymore. From the back, "Our Kusanagi family isn't a place where you can act as you please, not to mention the fact that you killed my son, and yet you still dare to come to the door. Is that so?" Chen Fan heard the voice and then his gaze locked onto Kusanagi Void. In an instant, Kusanagi Void's face changed, and then his entire body flew into midair as everyone watched. When Hijack saw this scene, his face changed drastically and he was about to strike. Bang! A popping sound came from Kusanagi Hollow and he burst open in full view of everyone, blood and flesh flying everywhere, shocking everyone who all froze. "Tell me, how come I can't be wild?" Chen Fan said with a smirk. When these people from the Kusanagi family heard Chen Fan's voice, their gazes looked at Chen Fan in horror. This person really acted with no inhibitions. Deceitful. At this moment, the robber's face turned cold. Clang, a sound came out, the katana at his waist instantly came out of the body, and a sword intent surged out as if it was a tidal wave. At the moment the katana was unsheathed, the body of the robber instantly disappeared, and in its place was a blade across the void. This blade was like snow, as if it had sliced through the void and chopped towards Chen Fan. This was Lord Robbery's famous sword. Juwa Chop. A single chop could take a person's head hundreds of paces away, and he had once used this sword to cut through a steel battleship, making him famous throughout the world. When the people of the shrine saw this sword, they immediately revealed joyful colors, waiting to take Chen Fan's life under this sword. Clang! Just as the blade chopped at Chen Fan's body, a sound of gold and iron clashing came from him. Chen Fan merely stretched out one of his index fingers to block this blade, while the robber appeared 20 paces away behind Chen Fan.
You are too weak, let the man of Suzaku roll out.
Chen Fan said indifferently as he turned his back to Hijack. The people present were all shocked upon hearing this. The ninth on the god ranking, Hijack, was actually told by Chen Fan that he was too weak.
This was truly arrogant to the extreme.
Shen, you are too rampant. Right at this moment, a hoarse voice came violently from the air.
It's Master Jin Ming.
Master Jin Ming has struck.
When the crowd heard the voice, they immediately cried out in shock. Emperor Jinming, as a god realming Yang master of the Japanese kingdom, had been living in seclusion within the Heavenly Manifestation Palace, and had faded out of people's sight as early as 30 years ago, and many people even suspected that this master had already died, and as for making a move, it was something that had never been seen before. Chen Fan raised his head to look at the old man in the sky wearing the clothes of a yin-yang master, and the piece of jade hanging on this man's chest immediately attracted his gaze. Vermilion bird, Xian Wu, green dragon, white tiger. The four saints descend.
Amber Jinming made a seal with both hands, and the 8-foot agaric hook jade on his chest flashed with red, yellow, white, and blue light. These 4 rays of light shot out and surrounded the 4 directions of Enpei Jinming, and then transformed into the vermilion bird, Xuanwu, green dragon, and white tiger types. Then these 4 saints directly attacked towards Chen Fan. The vermilion bird burned with blazing flames, the green dragon bloomed with thunder, the white tiger roared with fierce winds, and the Xuanwu's icy cold power spread. Fire, thunder, wind, and water, the 4 forces, descended vastly from the sky above, bombarding the mountain peak.
Boom!
Rumbling sounds that resounded through the sky came, a hemispherical ball of light continuously enlarged, and after the vast power swept in all directions, the entire mountain peak shook crazily with it. The people below the mountain, people looked up to the peak, and knelt down, shouting that the gods had descended. Above the foot of the mountain, Niashiro, who was not yet powerful, looked upwards, covering her mouth, with only shock on her face. Of course, her heart was even more shocked because it felt like this was all related to Chen Fan.
Crap!
Xiaohao also couldn't help but burst out. This was the first time in his life that he had seen such a sight. It was really too shocking. And on top of the mountain, many people watched Chen Fan, waiting for the outcome, waiting for Chen Fan to die.
4 saints? Nothing more than falsehoods.
Only, a flat voice came, instantly shattering everyone's illusions. Only to see that Chen Fan appeared unharmed, and not only was he unharmed, but even Sasaki Saori on his side was unharmed. Sasaki Saori was gasping for air, before he thought he would die, but it turned out that nothing happened to him halfway.
My turn.
Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, he faintly said.
Chapter 349, The Man of Suzaku's Appearance. My turn.
As soon as Chen Fan's words fell, he raised his hand and punched towards the sky. This punch was casual, but in Amber Jinming's eyes it was like a vast mountain crushing towards him for holy shields. Ampi Jinming hurriedly made a seal with both hands, and the light of the 4 saints converged, transforming into a 4-colored light shield that blocked in front of him. However, this is useless. A fist hit, fist shadow like a mountain, bombarded on the light shield, instantly shattered the light shield, and then there is a bang sound, the sky was shaken, and Pei Jinming instantly flew backwards, smashed in the mountains and forests, life and death unknown. The crowd was shocked by this scene. Only, Chen Fan struck again, his 2 fingers merged together, transforming into a sword finger, and chopped in the air. The Yuaning level sword skill Heavenly Dipper Divine Sword skill was executed, and a sword aura like a star appeared, and chopped towards Hijack. Hijack's face changed, mobilizing his entire body, he raised the katana in his hand and fought to block it. Boom! Another roaring sound came, Chen Fan's sword light chopped down, destroying everything. Robbery could not block it at all, instantly disappearing under the sword light, vanishing into thin air. The whole place was dead silent. The only thing the Kusanagi family had was fear. Because it was too fast, Chen Fan probably didn't even reach 5 seconds before and after he struck, Amber Jinming and Hijack died. This, how? How could this be so powerful? Is this the number 1 strength of the god ranking? The hearts of the Kusanagi family felt like they were going to explode. Sasaki Saori, on the other hand, was covering her mouth in shock. She had originally thought that it would be a great battle, but as a result, it had ended just like that. This Qin Xingxuan's strength was simply not in the same dimension as theirs. Roll out. Only, this would be the time when Chen Fan's faint voice came out while his gaze was directed towards the depths of the shrine. Boom. Just as Chen Fan's words fell, a booming sound came. Accompanying this roaring sound, a black pillar of light from the depths of the shrine shot up into the sky, reaching up to the 9 heavens. Accompanied by the appearance of this light column, countless ghosts crying and howling mournful sound then resounded through the sky, as if countless ghosts, spirits out of the world, diffusing chi like a black giant curtain shrouded down, so that the people present are all body trembling up. Lord! Master! This! Sasaki Saori's entire body trembled. Just a somewhat accomplished ghost cultivator. Chen Fan said indifferently, then a mana was released to protect Sasaki Saori. Sasaki Saori immediately felt her body warm and no longer fearful. Don't play God. Chen Fan said as he looked towards the black pillar of light. What exactly is your origin? At the moment Chen Fan's words fell, a gloomy voice came out and then, the black pillar of light slowly closed in and then disappeared, and a figure then appeared in midair. This figure was about 2 meters tall, with a green face and fangs, living up to the face of a hellish evil spirit, while its body was dressed in armor from the Edo era of the Japanese nation. Since I'm dying anyway, there's no need for you to know where I come from. Chen Fan, on the other hand, spoke indifferently. The pair of ghostly eyes of Susanoo no Man stared at Chen Fan, and suddenly, his left and right hands grasped in 2 directions, then he uttered out in a low voice, "It's time, offer up your soul." Just as Susanoo's words fell, those people within the shrine violently let out a mournful scream, then countless black chi surged out from these people's bodies, and immediately afterward, these people's souls were extracted from their physical bodies under a powerful force, and flew towards Susanoo's man, and those who had their souls extracted from them suddenly had their eyes rolled back in their head and were no longer alive. Master, this is? Sasori Saori's pretty face changed abruptly. The entire shrine is probably the sustenance for this ghost cultivator's cultivation. Chen Fan said. Sasaki Saori's face turned pale as she listened. She did not expect that the gods enshrined in the entire heavenly manifestation shrine were actually these evil existences using the souls of the people here as sustenance for their cultivation and recovery. After these souls flew into Susanoo's body, his body rapidly grew larger, and the yin chi on his body became more and more exuberant. It's not enough, the souls of the 2 of you are also offered to me. Only, the Suzaku no Man seemed to feel that it wasn't enough and let out a low voice. As the voice fell, 2 soul lights flashed and shot towards the sky. Amber Jinmei and Hijack. Sasaki Saori saw the 2 souls that swept up. It was clearly Anpei Jinming and Hijack who had just been killed by Chen Fan. Lord Sasori, save me. Anpei Jinming and Hijack let out pleading voices almost simultaneously. Cultivating to the god realm wasn't easy. As long as the divine souls were still alive, there was always a means to resurrect them. Only, right now, Lord Suzaku didn't pay any attention at all, instantly absorbing these 2 god realm souls into his body. At the moment he inhaled the 2 divine realm souls, the Suzaku no Man let out a roaring sound before his huge body violently fell from the sky onto the ground. Boom! The moment he landed, a roaring sound came from the ground, and the entire mountain peak shook with it. Are you ready? Chen Fan asked as he looked at the man of Suzaku who had landed on the ground. The man of Suzaku ignored Chen Fan and instead called out, "Tian Songyun sword, 8-foot agaric hook jade." Whoosh! In an instant, 2 beams of light swept up and flew towards the man of Suzaku. In the next moment, the heavenly cloud sword landed on top of Susanoo's right hand, while the 8-foot agaric hook jade was set into his forehead. As for his chest, there was a broken piece of mirror, which was the 8-foot mirror that had been shattered by Chen Fan's absorption of the Gungjin Dao rhyme earlier. This is ready now, isn't it? Chen Fan asked as he looked at the fully armed man of Suzaku. The pair of ghostly eyes of the man of Suzaku looked at Chen Fan and said with a big grin and extreme confidence, "You're very strong, and your methods are also very interesting. If you're willing to kneel down and beg me right now, I might be able to consider letting you live and letting you become my divine servant." He came from the supreme pantheon of gods, and there was a supreme powerhouse who had sealed the Orochi thousands of years ago. He was a present-day god, and how could a mortal compete with a god? Your ghost cultivator is quite suitable for refining into a magic treasure spirit weapon, so even if you kneel down and beg for forgiveness right now, there's no way I'll let you go. Chen Fan grinned. Ghost cultivators, who were originally soul bodies, were excellent materials for cultivating into weapon spirits. As soon as the man of Suzaku heard this, he became furious. "A mere mortal, you are too arrogant." At the moment he spoke, his eyes' black aura skyrocketed, while his body breath was climbing, the surrounding dust was shaken and cracked, and even levitated. Countless black yin chi surged out, like a big curtain enveloping the mountain peaks. The surroundings were suddenly black, and countless voices of ghosts and wolves cried and howled loudly. At this instant, it was like the ghost world had descended.
Even the ancient immortal descendants of the Summer Kingdom wouldn't dare to speak to me like this. The man of Suzaku let out a low voice as he raised his hand in the air and grabbed at Chen Fan. Chapter 350, Abused and Killed. Susanoo grabbed out with one hand, instantly pitch black she rolled, strong wind whistled, and above the claw tip shone with a sharp light that was black like a sword. This grab, landing on an ordinary person, would instantly be torn to pieces, even a heavy tank, I'm afraid it would instantly shatter. How weak. Only, Chen Fan looked at it, showing extreme disdain, lifting his hand in the air and chopping with his sword finger, instantly a sword aura like the light of a star chopped out. Boom! A roaring sound came, the ghost claw instantly crumbled, a terrifying force also burst open, pouring out in all directions, the force swept, the ground then crumbled, the dust flew up, terrifyingly abnormal. In this sweeping power, a star sword on flew out as if it was broken, chopping to the man of Suzaku. Susanoo's face changed, raising the heavenly cloud sword in his hand and blocking it at his chest. Clang! A violent and incomparable sound of gold and iron clashing came out. Along with this sound, the huge body of the man of Susa that was more than 3 meters tall was subjected to a strong force that caused his feet to land on the ground, and he flew backwards towards the back. Susanoo's feet on the ground above the foot cut out nearly 100 meters of 2 deep craters before stopping. After stopping, Suzaku's man, hands above dripping black blood like ink, and his eyes looked at Chen Fan face doubtful, the other side of this casual air chop, but so horrible. Chen Fan saw that this man of Suzaku was not killed by his sword, he had to sigh, by the Chaos Pearl Dao rhythm of the Tian Songyan sword is still strong, will be his power to unload a large part, otherwise just now his sword, the man of Suzaku will die. Your strength if strong, worthy of being number 1 on the god ranking. The pair of ghostly shadows of the man of Suzaku looked at Chen Fan and said. And after he spoke, the 8-foot agaric jade on his forehead kept flickering, and the surrounding aura kept converging towards the 8-foot agaric jade, and in an instant, the damage caused by enduring Chen Fan's sword was not only restored, but even the power he had consumed before was restored as well. In a split second, Susanoo was back to his best state. This is my territory, as long as I'm here, I'm immortal, so even if you're strong, you can't help me. The man of Suzaku was not gloomy enough. Hearing this, Chen Fan said with extreme disdain on his face, this is nothing more than a quick recovery for you, and this quick recovery of yours will only bring you endless pain. At the fall of Chen Fan's words, the star glow above the sword finger flickered, and there was even a flow of sword intent, just like a 9 heavens sword god dancing with a sword, chopping out in the air. At the same time, in the shrine not far away from a small hill, wearing a tight ninja clothes will be hot body outline out of the black G is quietly watching the shrine and the occurrence of everything. Tian Songyan sword, 8-foot Zhong Hook Jade, Qin Xing Xian, don't let me down, as long as you destroy these 2 artifacts, my lord will be able to get out of the trap and descend into the world. Hei Ji said indifferently with her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. And above her proud chest, a crimson light shone, revealing the shadow of a huge snake. In another place, Sasaki Saori hid in the distance, her heart was terrified, this man of Suzaku would recover quickly, this was the body of immortality, it was beyond her cognizance, it was really a god, this made her worry about Chen Fan's safety. If Chen Fan lost, the Sasaki family and her would definitely die, she could only pray now that Chen Fan could defeat this legendary god. Rumble. Suddenly, above the mountain peak, a huge rumbling sound resounded, and a force like a kiloton bomb exploding burst above the mountain peak, and this tremendous sound resounded, instantly causing everyone around the heavenly manifestation palace to cast their gazes above the mountain peak. Oh my god! Is this a nuclear explosion? The mountain peak has disappeared. Those residents of the Japanese country looked at the mountain peak, all of their gazes froze, only to see that the original mountain peak had been flattened and shortened by a large margin. This is the divine punishment of the Suzaku great god, there must be someone who has angered the gods. Yes, this is the Suzaku great god in a rage, punishing those who have offended him. As long as one is within the 10 manga shrine, great god Susa is invincible. There were many Japanese people kneeling at the bottom of the mountain, chanting continuously. The people who lived here just worship Suzaku no Mikoto, and anyone who dared to offend Suzaku no Mikoto would surely die. Crap, this is too much. Did that Chen Fan do something out of the ordinary at the top of the mountain and attracted divine punishment? Xiao Hao did not leave, but stayed at the bottom of the mountain to keep an eye on the movements above the mountaintop. When Ye Shiro heard Xiao Hao's words, her face was very unhappy as she said, "What are you talking about? Just talking nonsense." When Xiao Hao heard this, he immediately snorted and said, "Shiro, you saw what happened at the top of the mountain, that Chen Fan's name is definitely dead." Ye Shiro glared at Xiao Hao upon hearing this, then turned around and left. "Where are you going?" Xiao Hao hurriedly chased after her. Do you want to die? Don't you see that the commotion is so big, being swept in will surely kill you? Nie Xiao grunted. When Xiao Hao heard this, his back suddenly went cold. Right, now he had to hurry up and leave, in case the divine punishment descended on the mountain. Once he was caught up in it he would surely die now. That Chen Fan was definitely involved in death, he had to live well. With that, the two quickly ran away and left the area. Not long after the two left, a huge figure above the sky fell towards the ground at an extremely fast speed. Boom! And this figure smashed into the ground above, immediately issued a huge roar sound, and the ground also then sunk into a large pit. In this surrounding was involved in the Japanese people dead and wounded, extremely miserable. And those who are alive to look at the deep pit, a moment of face changed to panic, unbelievable. In the middle of the deep pit, was lying their worshipped god, Susanoo. At this moment, Susanoo's body is full of wounds, such as ink blood continues to gush out, but the 8-foot agaric jade is still continuously absorbing the rolling breath, and the wounds also continue to recover. However, the face of Susanoo's man did not have the calmness of before, only fear. I said before, your kind of recovery will only bring you endless pain. At this moment, a faint voice spread out from the sound of the sky, and a figure descended from above the sky to the side of the man of Suzaku with ease. This person was naturally Chen Fan, and after he descended, he raised a foot and instantly stomped down. Snapping. This sound of knowledge rang out, and one of Susanoo's man's arm was instantly stepped on and turned into mush, and Susanoo's man instantly let out a mournful and incomparable sound of misery, and in the midst of the sound of misery, his injuries continued to recover under the effect of the 8 feet shown hook jade. Only, he had just recovered a little bit when he was again stomped by Chen Fan just like that. Chen Fan seemed to be addicted to abuse. As the man of Susa recovered, he stomped on it, over and over again, torturing the man of Susa as if he was worse than death. Those people from the Japanese country looked on with fear on their faces, as if they were looking at Chen Fan as if they were looking at a demon. Bang! In the end, Chen Fan stomped the chest of the man of Susa with 1 foot, then reached out and dug out the 8-foot agaric hook jade. With that, the body of the man of Suzaku began to crumble and dissolve. And in that instant, a black light violently shot up into the sky. Escape? Chen Fan laughed coldly and took out the supreme treasure vase, then raised his hand and grabbed it, pinching the fleeing divine soul of the man of Suzaku before stuffing it into the supreme treasure vase. You can refine this divine soul into an artifact spirit. Chen Fan collected the supreme treasure vase and let out a faint smile. Chapter 351, Refining into an Artifact Spirit. Susanoo, who had been enshrined at the 10 manga shrine for 1,000 years, his divine might had subdued the Japanese kingdom for thousands of years. In these thousands of years, the Emperor of Japan, generals, even in modern times, the Prime Minister of Japan or those dignitaries, the head of the consortium, all have to respectfully come to pay their respects. It is also because of Susanoo's male patronage, so that the Kusanagi family has always been the Japanese country's leading family. But now this god is dead. Moreover, he had been trampled to death, in an almost sinful manner, in front of countless believers. How could this be possible? Those believers still couldn't believe that their worshipped god had died just like that. However, the scene that happened in front of them was conclusive. When Susanoo's physical body crumbled, his divine soul was detained, the shrine was turned into a flat ground, and countless Inchi escaped from the mountain peaks. All of them were telling them that Susanoo, the godhead, was dead and the murderer who killed the god stood in front of them, just no one dared to go forward, no one even dared to look directly at the murderer. The only one who could kill a god was a god. This one in front of them was bound to be a god as well. Chen Fan ignored the people around him. In his eyes these people were no different from ants, he had little interest in slaughtering them. Then, he turned his gaze to a part of the mountain peak, swept his body, and then flew up in the air, arriving in an instant, and then reached out and picked up Sasaki's saori from the waist, and then landed on the flattened mountaintop. After Sasaki's saori was put down by Chen Fan, she still had not regained her senses. What had just happened was too shocking. The man of Suzaku had just been abused and killed by his master. This was a god that had been enshrined for 1,000 years by the Japanese nation. This god was dead, so Chen Fan was a god in her eyes. Chen Fan ignored Sasaki's saori and grabbed the Tian Songyan sword that was stuck in the distance into his hand. The moment he grasped the Heavenly Cloud sword, the Chaos Pearl immediately reacted. The moment Chen Fan gripped the Heavenly Cloud sword, he immediately felt a powerful Tao rhythm of the sword permeating the area. The Chaos Bead truly encompasses all the ways of the world, in which even the Tao rhyme of the sword is contained. After Chen Fan held the sword, his heart was overwhelmed with emotion towards the Chaos Bead.
He knew that the chaos bead was a supreme treasure, but as he continued to collect the broken Tao rhythms of the chaos bead, he became more and more shocked. The chaos bead truly encompassed all the ways of the world. If the chaos bead could be completely restored, Chen Fan even felt that a world would be born within it. Wasn't the way that encompassed everything in the world a world? After that, Chen Fan once again took out the most precious bottle and temporarily placed the heavenly crowning cloud sword and the 8-foot Xiong hook jade into the most precious bottle. Immediately afterward, Chen Fan released the divine soul of the man of Suzaku again. "Let me go, please let me go. As long as you let me go, I can give you everything. Over the years, the Kusanagi family has collected countless riches. As long as you let me go, everything will be given." Susanu's divine soul appeared, pleading frantically to Chen Fan. Qin Xingxuan's strength was not on the same level as him, and the only way to live was to beg for mercy. "Hear that?" Chen Fan asked as he looked towards Sasaki Saori. Sasaki smiled and immediately understood what Chen Fan meant, then said, "Master, the Kusanagi family has amassed a wealth of over 2 trillion yen, and the top-tier Mitsui Foundation in Japan has their shares. I will hand all of this over to the master's hands." Chen Fan smiled, then looked at Susanu and said indifferently, "I don't need you to give me these things in your mouth, I can get my hands on them myself. Please let me go, I have paid a great price for cultivating to this level, I don't want to die just like that." The man of Suzaku continued to plead to Chen Fan. To be able to cultivate to a level like his, where he was worshipped as a god, was extremely difficult, and at this point, everyone was extremely precious about their lives. Regardless of how they were, as long as they survived, even if it was just a wisp of divine soul, as long as they lived, they would have a chance to rise again. "Don't worry, I won't kill you." Chen Fan, on the other hand, said with a smile. Susanu's man's face changed slightly at these words, revealing a flash of surprise. "You're willing to let me go?" "I won't kill you, nor will I release you, I will refine you into the artifact spirit of the supreme treasure bottle," Chen Fan said with a smile. The man of Suzaku's face changed drastically when he heard this, but he didn't have any room for resistance at all, and could only watch as Chen Fan released a mysterious power that enveloped him. The supreme treasure bottle only began to grow larger under Chen Fan's urging, and immediately afterward, a vortex appeared on top of its bottle, which then swallowed the man of Suzaku into the vortex and into the bottle. This time, instead of entering the bottle, the man of Suzaku was directly absorbed by the supreme treasure bottle. The supreme treasure bottle was bound to be a top-level magic treasure spirit weapon, and such a treasure was bound to have an artifact spirit, but now that it was nearly 99% damaged, the artifact spirit had long since died. Chen Fan naturally wanted to repair the most precious bottle, but the process of repairing it was very slow, and it could even be said that from the time he got the most precious bottle until now, there had been little progress in repairing it. One of the reasons is that the spirit is dead, repair will be extremely difficult, so he has long wanted to give the most precious bottle refining into a spirit. Only, within the earth lack of good soul, this time to come to Japan did not expect to meet Susan no man this soul powerful ghost cultivator, very suitable for refining into the treasure bottle of the device spirit. With this artifact spirit, it will be able to accelerate the restoration of the most precious bottle. And after the man of Suzaku's was absorbed into the bottle, Chen Fan immediately urged his mana to start refining it. This process wasn't too slow, after all, the divine soul of the Suzaku's man wasn't too strong, and it was easy to refine it, but in half an hour's time, Chen Fan finished refining it. "Come out," Chen Fan then said after completing the refining. As his words fell, a faint blue light flashed on the body of the supreme treasure bottle before a figure appeared in front of Chen Fan and Sasori Saori's eyes. "Master, he's Susanu?" Sasaki Saori's expression was astonished beyond measure when she saw the person who appeared. The appearance of this person appeared, his appearance was completely different from Susanu's man, wearing a Japanese samurai uniform, about 1 meter 8 in height, and his face was not the green-faced and fanged appearance of Susanu's man, but rather a man with a rather good appearance. However, at the moment, this man had a dull expression, like a walking corpse, without any spiritual intelligence. This was normal. After all, Chen Fan had erased all the memories of the man of Suzaku, so it would take some time to cultivate. I dispersed his original ghost cultivation method, and now it is his original appearance, Chen Fan said. When Sasaki Saori heard this, she was even more surprised and said, "Could it be that all of these gods of Susanu are cultivated?" That's right, he should have reached a bottleneck in his cultivation and was unable to make any inch of progress, so he changed his path to cultivation and went on the path of ghost cultivation, taking on the appearance of an evil spirit. Chen Fan nodded his head. Sasaki Saori's heart shook as she listened. This was telling her that those so-called gods were all cultivated and not really from any pantheon of gods. "Let me ask you one thing,
are there any other gods like Susanoo Saori in the Japanese country?
Chen Fan asked. It wasn't a bad thing to capture more of these gods similar to Susanoo Man, and the Supreme Treasure Bottle was perfectly capable of holding a few more artifact spirits.
Chapter 352, The Japanese Country Shakes. Sasaki Saori's heart trembled at Chen Fan's words, and she was shocked in her heart. Could it be that Master wants to destroy all the shrines?
Chen Fan frowned when he saw Sasaki Saori reply. Yes, there are many famous shrines in the country of Japan. Among them, there are 5 others that have the same gods as the Tenmanga Shrine, the most famous of which is the Yasukuni Shrine.
When speaking of the Yasukuni Shrine, Sasaki Saori's face was slightly unnatural. Yasukuni Shrine?
When Chen Fan heard the most famous shrine, he immediately recalled the knowledge he knew. Yes, this is the most famous shrine in Japan. Every year, the Prime Minister of Japan as well as countless dignitaries and the presidents of the consortiums would go to worship it, and there is a legend that there is more than one god inside it. Moreover, the Yasukuni Shrine is also inhabited by Oda Shinjen, the true number 1 person in Japan.
Sasaki Saori introduced Yasukuni Shrine to Chen Fan. Chen Fan responded after hearing this and said nothing more.
However, just a single word made Sasaki Saori shudder, and she knew that her master definitely wanted to head there. Only, Yasukuni Shrine, that place is not comparable to Tenmanga Shrine. Inside the legend has a number of gods, plus that Oda Shinjen, the strength is terrifyingly incomparable. Even if her own master was strong, she didn't think she could break into it alone. Moreover, after this incident, it will definitely shake the entire Japanese nation, and then the Japanese nation will definitely take precautions, and then Chen Fan will go to Yasukuni Shrine, that is to confront the entire Japanese nation. How to look at this is to seek death. This made Sasaki Saori become torn. On one side is her own country, on the other side is her own master. It's hard to choose. Go, take me to a place where I won't be disturbed. I need to retreat for some days. While Sasaki Saori was still in shock, Chen Fan said once again. Upon hearing this, Sasaki Saori came back to her senses and immediately said, "You can go to Sasaki village, there's a cultivation quiet room there." Hearing this, Chen Fan didn't say much as he picked up Sasaki Saori and flew towards Sasaki village. He needed to incorporate the Tao rhythms of the 8-foot Zhong Hook Jade and the Heavenly Cloud Sword into the Chaos Bead, as well as sensing and cultivating, so it would definitely take some time. The news of the destruction of the Tenmanga Shrine and the death of the god Susanoo spread throughout the entire country of Japan if lightning, and it also spread towards the East Asian countries of Xia and South Korea. All of Japan was in shock.
Tenmanga Shrine belongs to the Kusanagi family, which enshrines the god Susanoo. This is one of the famous shrines of Shintoism in Japan, and its strength, even if not counting Susanoo, the Kusanagi family alone has a place in Japan.
Among them, the 2 of them, Hijack and Amber Jinmei, were even super strong men who had been ranked at the top of the Japanese nation for decades. If you add in Susanoo, the strength of the Tenmanga Shrine is enough to sit 3-1 in the country of Japan. However, the Tenmanga Shrine was destroyed. Not only that, Hijack, Amber Jinmei and Susanoo all fell, which made the country of Japan, down to the common people, up to the emperor, were all subdued. Tokyo, Japan, Yasukuni Shrine.
Who on earth destroyed the Tenmanga Shrine?
A beautiful woman sat there, her breath like an abyss, a katana crossed above her knees, her face grim as she asked. Around her knelt many people. Some of these people were her disciples, some were the sons of major consortiums, and there were even quite a number of high-ranking Japanese government officials.
This woman's name was Oda Kumiko, a descendant of Oda Shinjen.
Oda Shinjen, as early as more than 200 years ago, has been the first person in Japan, only, more than 100 years ago, will be hidden, disappeared in the world's field of vision. Many people thought that Oda Shinjen, the most powerful man in Japan, had already died. Until, 20 years ago, this Oda Kumiko appeared out of nowhere, with the identity of a woman, defeated countless powerful cultivators of the Japanese country, and finally she fought with the robbery, ending in a narrow defeat afterwards. The people only know, this Oda Kumiko was the Japanese country Oda Shinjen descendant, and get Oda Shinjen's personal instruction, hard cultivation for 50 years, and then came out of nowhere, shaking the whole Japanese country cultivation world. Right now, her appearance appeared to be no more than 30 years old or so, but in reality, her age had long been close to 70 years old. All of them knew that this was the secret cultivation method that Oda Kumiko had inherited to Oda Shinjen, making it difficult for her to look old. It was also because of her appearance that the people knew that that supreme figure of the Japanese nation, Oda Shinjen, had been living in the world, and might even be getting younger and younger. Kneeling below, the people heard Oda Kumiko's question. They have a difficult face, look at each other, seemingly did not figure out, in the end, was the extermination of the Ten Manga Shrine, because the destruction of the Ten Manga Shrine was simply too fast, and the Ten Manga Shrine was razed to the ground, with none of its people surviving.
Was it the Jade Void Palace powerhouse from the Summer Kingdom that struck?
Suddenly, one person spoke out and asked. Impossible, if the Jade Void Palace's powerhouses struck, there's no way I didn't get the news.
Oda Kumiko immediately denied. Could it be that the Dragon Knights, Divine Punishment Substitute, and Hell, the three major X organizations in the West, have struck? Another person asked.
This is even more impossible. Our country of Japan is a G7 ally made up of the United States of America. These three major X organizations could never strike against our country of Japan.
Oda Kumiko shook her head.
Any one of these three X organizations could destroy the Ten Manga Shrine. There was just no reason for these three X organizations to do so. All this was to renege on the covenant and do a favor for the Summer Kingdom.
Just who is it? Able to destroy the entire Ten Manga Shrine in such a short period of time? Oda Kumiko was lost in thought.
If one wanted to flatten the Ten Manga Shrine, only those X-level organizations or powerful armies would be able to do it, but all of these were denied one by one.
If not those forces, who else could it be? It's Chen Fan.
Just as the crowd was thinking hard, a voice came out.
The crowd was startled at the sound and immediately looked over,
only to see a middle-aged man wearing a samurai uniform walk in. This man's aura was incomparably sharp, like a sheathed samurai sword, making people's hearts tremble.
Akihide Kuchi. Oda Kumiko's pretty face revealed a look of surprise when she saw the visitor. Akihide Kuchi, a famous swordsman of the Japanese kingdom.
Within the Japanese kingdom, he was known as a strong swordsman who could rival Hijack, a master of the Japanese Shinto flow. His swordsmanship was unpredictable, and he had once shaken the world by breaking a waterfall with a single blade. It was a pity that the world had never been able to see his sword Dao battle with Hijack.
And after this, Akihide Kuchi entered, the people following him also appeared. Toshoba Shrine Grand Magistrate, Asakura Keiko. Hakamanga Shrine Grand Magistrate, Kamakura Yo. Ayase Shrine Grand Magistrate, Izao Yamato.
Seeing these appearances, the people all revealed looks of shock. These were all the top cultivators of the Japanese nation, all the helmsmen of those top shrines, and with the addition of Akihide Kuchi, it could be said that the top experts of the Japanese cultivation world had all converged here. These powerful people gathered together. This could only mean one thing: something earth-shattering would happen in the Japanese country.
Chapter 353, Supreme Sword Intent. Akihide Kuchi, are you saying that everything is the work of that newly promoted number one on the god ranking, Chen Fan?
Oda Kumiko looked at Akihide Kuchi and asked solemnly, "That's right, it's this newly promoted number one on the god ranking, Chen Fan."
Akasu Kuchi said with great certainty.
After he finished speaking, the Yagyu ninja Heiji then appeared and displayed the video she had secretly recorded for the people to see. In the video, Chen Fan himself stated that he was Chen Fan.
Hiheim, you were there at the time, how did you survive? Oda Kumiko looked at Heiji with some doubt.
The Heavenly Man Palace was all destroyed, no one survived, and the fact that Heiji, who was right there on the scene, survived, this was surely something that many people were puzzled about.
Ms.
Oda, I am a ninja, frontal combat can't work, my strong points are in assassination and gathering intelligence, Kuroheim said. The crowd was right, a ninja is one who hides in the shadows. If they foresee danger, they must have retreated.
You guys came to Yasukuni Shrine this time because of Chen Fan? Oda Kumiko asked as she looked at Akihide Kuchi.
That's right, this Chen Fan thinks that because he is number one on the god ranking, he can bully no one in our Japanese country and step on Tian Man Palace. That I'm afraid that he will be heading to other shrines next. How could we possibly let such a thing happen?
Izao Yamato said in a cold voice. Izao Yamato was the Grand Magus of Ayase Shrine. The Izao family was inherited from Izao Nachi and Izao Nami of the creation divine word of the land of the rising sun. The blood of the gods flowed through his body, and even his fleshly body was known as the divine body, which allowed him to allow the gods to possess his body, and allow his strength to reach an extremely terrifying level. This Chen Fan, who has been wreaking havoc in the Japanese country and stepped on the Heavenly Manifestation Palace, I'm afraid that his next target will be the Yasukuni Shrine. That's why I've summoned all of you here to discuss the great matter. Akihide Kuchi then spoke out at this moment at the right time.
The world knew that Xia and Japan had an extremely deep enmity, especially this Yasukuni Shrine. Therefore, when Akihide Kuchi received the news that the Heavenly Manifestation Palace had been destroyed, he contacted the experts of the Japanese cultivation world to head to the Yasukuni shrine at the first opportunity. Kurohime, tell me, what exactly is the strength of this Qin Xian?
Akihide Kuchi turned to Kurohime and asked after he finished speaking.
Heiji then said with an incomparable gravity, Qin Xian's methods are unimaginable. A single chop in the air is a sword blade that cuts through the heavens and the earth. Suzaku Daigami, in front of him, I can only say that it is unbeatable. When the crowd heard this, they fell silent, their faces appearing extremely grave.
What strength was the Suzaku no Makoto? Those present were not unaware of it.
Such a character facing Qin Xian but being unable to take a single blow, then the people present facing Qin Xian would only be even worse. With such strength, even if we join forces, it's impossible to be his opponent. Right, this Qin Xian's strength is so terrifying, it would be a death sentence for us to join forces.
Many people spoke out, their words filled with fear. Are you guys preparing to ask my ancestor to make a move?
Oda Kumiko asked as her eyebrows furrowed when she heard these people's words.
Not bad. Akihide Kuchi immediately spoke out.
And the others all looked towards Oda Kumiko at this moment, with anticipation in their eyes. Oda Shinjen lived within the Yasukuni shrine, not seeing anyone, not even the emperor or the prime minister, who were not qualified to see this legendary figure of the Japanese nation.
However, there was one exception. Oda Kumiko, the descendant of Oda Shinjen.
Oda Kumiko looked at these people, then her face chilled, and she said with a murderous aura, my ancestor has been living here for many years, and he does not allow anyone to disturb him, but this Qin Xian is really bullying people too much, and dares to humiliate the whole of the Japanese kingdom like this, and I can't swallow this, so this time, I will personally ask my ancestor to step in and kill this madman. Upon hearing this, the crowd revealed joyous expressions. If Lord Oda Shinjen could make a move, how difficult would it be to kill Qin Xian? Before coming here, I have already contacted the Prime Minister. Our self-defense force will also be ready at all times, and even the Prime Minister has contacted the Rice Army in Japan, so this time, we will definitely decapitate Qin Xian in Japan, and raise the heavenly authority of my Japanese country.
Izao Yamato said at this moment.
When the crowd heard this, their hearts were greatly determined. Oda Shinjen plus the self-defense force and the Rice Army in Japan, this Qin Xian, even if he has 3 heads and 6 arms, it will be difficult for him to fly. What happened at the Yasukuni shrine, Chen Fan didn't know anything about it. At this moment, he had already completed the fusion of the Chaos Pearl Sword Dao Rhyme. And his body was being surrounded by liquid sword intent. I didn't expect that my comprehension of the Dao of the sword would be so shallow that the sword intent would be able to be liquefied. Chen Fan looked at the sword intent that had liquefied around him, and the only thing in his heart was shock. The Pillow Rock Heavenly Qin clan came from the Great Dao sect, which was famous for its sword cultivation in the Qin Xian Star region. Therefore, Chen Fan's attainments in the Dao of the sword were extremely high, and he had comprehended sword intent early on. And his divine ability at the Yuan stage, the Heavenly Dipper divine sword technique, was even cultivated to perfection. He thought that his comprehension of the Dao of the sword had reached a very high level. However, after coming into contact with the Dao rhythm of the sword on the Chaos Pearl, he realized that he still had a long way to go above the Dao of the sword. There were many types of sword intent, and among them, there were 3 supreme sword intent, immortal sword intent, destructive sword intent, and chaotic sword intent. The sword intent he had comprehended before was merely the most elementary sword intent, and now he borrowed his comprehension of the Chaos Pearl Sword Dao Rhyme to sublimate his sword intent, allowing it to liquefy. And the liquefaction of sword intent is only the introduction of immortal sword intent. After that, he still has to let the sword intent take shape, and ultimately perceive the immortal will and reach immortal sword intent. Immortality draws out the opposing destructive will, which is a higher level of destructive sword intent. When immortality and destruction eventually merge and turn into chaos, this is the highest chaos sword intent. Right now, Chen Fan was only taking the first step towards immortal sword intent. But just the first step had already doubled Chen Fan's sword Dao power. In the entire Qin Xian astral domain, this does not exist. These 3 supreme sword intentions, I'm afraid that they are only possessed by higher realms, and I'm also thanks to the blessing of the Chaos Pearl. Chen Fan marveled in his heart as he looked at the Chaos Bead. He knew that the Chaos Bead was a supreme treasure, but it was difficult to have an accurate perception. Now, he felt that this Chaos Bead was afraid that it was a supreme treasure of the extremely high realm that had unintentionally landed in this realm. Only, he was somewhat puzzled as to why the Chaos Bead Avenue fragment would appear in this place, Earth. This Earth, it seems to be somewhat marvelous, Chen Fan secretly sighed. Then, he dispersed all of the liquid sword intent, and then took out the 8-foot Zheng Hook Jade, and the Chaos Pearl immediately reacted, absorbing all of the Great Dao fragments on it. And Chen Fan realized the way of healing from it.
The way of healing, it allows the effect of my recovery faculty avatar to increase, and many diseases, poisons, and even curses can be cured now.
Chen Fan said with satisfaction after his realization. His previous recovery lineage avatar could only heal those physical injuries, and was ineffective in the case of diseases, virulent poisons, curses, and all sorts of abnormal states.
Master.
At this time, Sasaki Saori's voice came from outside the quiet room.
What is it?
Chen Fan asked as he transmitted his voice. Oda Shinjen has asked you to fight at the top of Tokyo in 3 days.
Sasaki Saori said. Chapter 354, The Japanese Kingdom versus the Summer Kingdom.
Deep within the Yasukuni Shrine, there was a small lush garden. This garden was built entirely according to the architectural style of the Edo period, filled with bamboo forests, wooden houses with lanterns, small bridges and flowing water, exuding a marvelous Taoist charm everywhere. Passing through the bamboo forest, the booming sound of falling water was heard. It was a waterfall. A man with a head full of white hair was sitting by the waterfall like an old monk in meditation. Although the man had a head of white hair, his appearance was quite young, looking like a handsome man in his 30s. And this man sat here, all natural, as if melting into everything around, more like transcendent to everything. Behind this man, Oda Kumiko and Akihide Kuchi, Izao Yamato and these people were standing with gloomy expressions.
The white-haired man in front of him was the legendary figure of the Japanese nation, Oda Shinjen.
Grandfather ancestor, the war letter has already been sent. However, Chen Xian has yet to reply. I'm afraid he'll be too scared to pick it up, Oda Kumiko suddenly said after a moment of silence.
If he aspires to enter the realm of legends, he will inevitably pick it up,
Oda Shinjen said carelessly. When the crowd heard this, their faces changed.
Ancestral grandfather, what do you mean, this Chen Xian is about to step into the legend realm?
Oda Kumiko hurriedly asked. The 3 divine artifacts in the hands of Susanoo has a method to help one step into the legendary realm. This Chen Xian, it seems that he is at a bottleneck, or else he wouldn't have stepped on the heavenly manifestation palace,
Oda Shinjen said indifferently. No wonder the strength is so terrifying. It's actually an expert who is about to become a legendary powerhouse,
Oda Kumiko said. Chen Xingxuan's strength was too terrifying, far exceeding that of a god realm powerhouse, and now after Oda Shinjen said this, they understood Chen Xian had already gone to the extreme in the god realm, and because of that he was so strong. It was just a pity that he didn't have the means to become a legend realm, so he could only come to the land of the rising sun to seek it out.
Then, Lord Oda, you now? Akihide Kuchi asked carefully.
I am the same as this Chen Xian, not only am I so, but the ones on the god list are so, I guess.
Oda Shinjen raised his head slightly and said as he looked towards the tumbling waterfall.
When the crowd heard this, their faces changed slightly. They understood the meaning of it. The 3 above the god list, God, Arthur, and Dracula, had also gone to the extreme of the god realm.
Grandfather ancestor, then how should I step into the legend realm?
Oda Kumiko asked.
Only, just as Oda Kumiko's words fell, a black-clothed ninja suddenly appeared and knelt in front of the men. Any news?
Oda Kumiko immediately asked. Reporting to Lord Oda, we offered a bet of $30 billion, and Chen Xian accepted the battle,
this ninja immediately said.
Upon hearing this, the crowd immediately looked at Oda Shinjen.
You asked me how to step into the legend realm?
And at this moment, Oda Shinjen spoke out. And at the moment he spoke, he stretched out his right hand, transformed it into a handblade, and then violently swung it out horizontally towards the front. Under this swing, an imposing saber light shone out, and the moment this saber aura appeared, Oda Kumiko and these instantly felt a mountain-like power suppressing them, leaving them breathless.
Boom!
And at this moment, a booming sound came. Only to see that imposing blade light chopping into the rolling waterfall in front of them, after which, everyone's eyes widened with incredulity. Only to see, 30 meters away in front of them, the mountain waterfall that was more than 300 meters high, was cut off at the waist, and the mountain above it, slowly fell towards one side, and that rolling waterfall, instantly transformed into several streams of water rumble. A heavy rumbling sound came out as half of the mountain smashed down into the ground, instantly triggering a tremor. I cut the path of legends with the sword in my hand.
And at this moment, a resounding voice rang out as Oda Shinjen's body stood proudly, his aura as magnificent as an unbridgeable mountain.
When everyone saw this scene, they were only shocked. Oda Shinjen casually waved his hand. Surprisingly, 100-meter-tall upper body was chopped into 2 pieces from the middle.
This is the true #1 man of the Japanese nation. Akihide Kochi couldn't help but tremble. With grandfather ancestor here, that Qin Xingxian, what's he worth? Oda Kumiko said in surprise.
The news that Qin Xingxian had received a letter of battle from the Japanese country's legendary powerhouse Oda Shinjen, and would be dueling at the top of Tokyo 3 days later, shook East Asia once the news was spread. Oda Shinjen versus Qin Xingxian. The Kingdom of Japan versus the Kingdom of Xia. Xia and Japan have a blood feud, and although for many years, Japan has been re-establishing relations with Xia, with the rise of Xia, it has made the Western countries feel fear. The establishment of the G7 alliance, led by Milky Way, and the Japanese state is in it, but also as the vanguard of the anti-summer, the bridgehead. For a moment, the blood feud on top of the feud. Therefore, this war is colored by the color of the country. Now, this battle will be the summer country and the Japanese country to fight. Therefore, when this news reached the Xia kingdom, it immediately made the Xia kingdom boil. F***ck, I've long wanted to fight Little Day, it's just a pity that the officials have been suppressing it. Now that this Japanese country has come to the door on its own, it's time to clean it up. Right, I've been holding back for too long, it's long overdue to take this Little Day. The Little Day from top to bottom is just bitchy, without being cleaned up, we don't know who is in charge in East Asia. Xia's network is filled with voices about the war. Xia and Japan are too deep, and this Japan over the years, as if jumping clowns in the general jumping, Xia adhering to the style of a great nation, unwilling to bother, the results of Japan stirrups the nose on the face. In short, now the summer up and down, is a sentence, the old man has long been looking at you not happy. Qin Xingxuan's name everyone knows, who is this Oda Shinjen? I've only heard of the 6th heavenly demon king Oda Nobunaga, where did this Oda Shinjen come from? In the midst of the discussion, someone posted a question to Oda Shinjen. The fame of Qin Xingxian, the newly promoted #1 on the god ranking, could be said to be momentarily unrivaled during this period of time. However, this person, Oda Shinjen, was known to very few people throughout the Xia kingdom, and even the search engines could not find any information on him. Oda Shinjen, the legendary figure of the Japanese nation. There are legends that he has lived for 1,000 years, had crossed east into Xia more than 700 years ago, one man and one sword battled all the major powerhouses of Xia, and eventually forced the legendary figure of Xia, Zheng Sanfeng, to make a move. This battle is recorded in historical records as the Pinnacle Battle. The most recent news about Oda Shinjen is that 100 years ago, Arthur Pendragon, who was still ranked 8th on the god list at the time, challenged him and was defeated by him with a single sword. After that, Oda Shinjen disappeared into obscurity. So it's normal that you guys don't know. The internet account named Jianghu Baishaoshang sent out a message about Oda Shinjen. Jianghu Baishaoshang, as many people knew earlier, he was a character within the Xian sect, sending out news that was guaranteed to be accurate. And this message was sent out to attract the summer network shocked beyond measure. Oda Shinjen's summer country up and down do not recognize, but the legendary Zhang Sanfeng, summer country people know too much. Historical records, although only 4 words, but enough to see this Oda Shinjen's strength is how horrible, and even this Oda Shinjen's life expectancy, but also too long. This is already 1,000 years of life. Oda Shinjen's strength was a bit outrageous. Thus, a voice of worry then appeared above the Xia network. Qin Xingxian can really defeat Oda Shinjen? Chapter 355, Xingxian's husband. Chen Fan naturally didn't care at all about the various discussions on the internet after he finished his cultivation. He was holding his cell phone and talking to Yu Shan. Chen Fan froze when he heard the news from Yu Shan and asked after a moment, "Are you sure you're right? Xiao Qing is missing?" "It's true, 5 days ago, I went to see it and little Qing was still sleeping and molting, but as a result, on the morning of the 3rd day, I went over and only saw the layer of skin that little Qing had molted, and little Qing didn't know where it had gone." Yu Shan said anxiously. "Disappeared without any movement at all?" Chen Fan asked. "Yes, really no movement at all. I even arranged quite a few people to guard that place. Those guards all said that there was nothing unusual. I also sent people to look for 2 days, no news at all." Yu Shan was on the verge of crying. The more Chen Fan listened, the more he thought about it, the more wrong it was. Xiao Qing was such a big snake, and she disappeared without a trace? This made him feel unbelievable. "You don't have to worry, Little Green is very strong, even if it really disappeared not many people can harm it, maybe, it ran away to the underground relics and came back after a while." Finally, Chen Fan thought about it and comforted Yu Shan. "I'm not afraid that something will happen to Little Green, I'm afraid that Little Green will run out and do whatever it wants," Yu Shan said worriedly. Chen Fan was silent for a moment as he listened. Such a big snake, and it was highly likely that a super creature that had already transformed into a dragon to act recklessly would really give people a headache. Now that 2 days have passed and there's not much news on the internet, Little Green should not have acted recklessly. After a moment of silence, Chen Fan said. Yu Shan answered, so she asked, what happened to the battle between you and that what's his name Oda Shinjen?
Nothing's going on, he wants to die, so let him die.
Chen Fan casually answered.
Upon hearing this, Yu Shan immediately laughed, and then talked to Chen Fan about some things in Tianjin City.
By the way, I met Lu Zian, she came to Tianjin City before and gave a lot of investments. Yu Shan said. Lu Zian is quite the seller. Chen Fan responded with a sniff.
She heard that you were going to fight Oda Shinjen in Tokyo, and since she has not been able to contact you, she traveled to Japan.
Yu Shan continued.
Chen Fan froze for a moment upon hearing this. He did not expect Lu Zian to travel directly to the Japanese country, so he answered, I see, I will contact her later.
After that, the two of them chatted a few more sentences and hung up the phone while Chen Fan dialed Lu Zian's phone, but it prompted no signal. On the airplane. Chen Fan said when he saw that there was no signal, he was ready to collect the call. However, before collecting it, he thought about it and dialed Lin Xingyan's number. Chen Fan, where are you? Immediately after dialing the phone, Lin Xingyan's anxious voice came. I'm in Japan. Chen Fan said. You went to the Japanese country again? Lin Xingyan froze for a moment listening, then thought of something. Could you be Qin Xingxian? Right. Chen Fan responded.
The word right directly silenced Lin Xingyan.
Only after a moment did Lin Xingyan speak out, it won't be dangerous, right? Don't worry, it's a small matter. Chen Fan answered.
Lin Xingyan was relieved to hear Chen Fan's words. Now she believed whatever Chen Fan said. By the way, when you come back, I'll give you a surprise.
Lin Xingyan said. What surprise? Chen Fan asked.
It's not a surprise if I say it, you'll know when you come back. After saying this, Lin Xingyan immediately hung up the phone.
And Chen Fan had a puzzled look on his face, but he was too lazy to care. He would know when he went back after it was over. After Lin Xingyan hung up the phone, she immediately opened the largest forum in Xia. This forum was full of people asking Qin Xingxian whether he was Oda Shinjen's opponent or not, and a lot of people were also making analyses with their heads in the sand. Lin Xingyan hesitated for a moment at the content, and sent out a post under the nickname Xingyan. Don't worry, my husband is an immortal, it's impossible for a Japanese to be an opponent.
Crap, sister, you are Qin Xingxuan's wife, I am still Qin Xingxuan's old man.
Someone who saw this post immediately returned with disdain. Big sister, I know you're obsessed with Qin Xingxian, but you should also have a first come first served. This forum half of the girls want to give Qin Xingxian a monkey. You can only be a concubine. Another person posted and teased. Right, husband who wouldn't shout Xingxian husband, I love you, beat the little life. Husband Xingxian, I'll give you 10 monkeys if you beat the little life. Hubby Xingxian, this time, I'll send you fruit photos with hubby Xingxian in bed. Xingxian husband is super fierce in bed.
Then, a large number of girls posted, chanting about Xingxian's husband.
Lin Xingyan's entire body went numb as she looked at these posts, and she really wanted to make a post saying, I'm really Qin Xingxian's wife, the certified kind. However, in the end, she didn't post it and instead continued to pay attention to the battle. Even though Chen Fan said that there was no problem, she was still a little worried. Unlike the joyful uproar on the internet, those cultivators in reality were extremely attached to this battle. Many Xia cultivators as well as experts from South Korea and even the Bear Country had set out, preparing to be there in person, wanting to witness this battle with their own eyes. Time passed in the blink of an eye, and soon came the day of the duel. Chen Fan walked out of Sasaki village accompanied by Sasaki Saori. How are you receiving the assets of the Kusanagi family? If it doesn't go well, I'll call someone over for you. Chen Fan said to Sasaki Saori. Sasaki Saori froze as she listened. She didn't expect Chen Fan to still be thinking about this matter at this time. It's not too bad, but there are some aspects of business assets that I don't know enough about, so it will take some time. Sasaki Saori said. When Chen Fan heard that, he looked into the distance. Not far away, there was a Lexus business car driving over, so he said, help is coming, behind you, follow her and continue this duel, I'll just go alone. Soon the Lexus business car stopped, then an elite white-collar woman wearing a professional suit walked out. This woman's features were exquisite, her body's temperament was extremely outstanding, and this woman was Lu Zian, who rushed to see Chen Fan. Mr. Chen.
Lu Ziyan walked in front of Chen Fan and smiled.
Chen Fan nodded and said, "You and Sasaki Saure cooperate to take over all of the Kusanagi family's assets, and I will now go kill Oda Shinjen." After saying that, Chen Fan got into a special car to go to his appointment.
Chapter 356, The Great War Opens.
Japan, Tokyo cultivators from East Asia and even all over the world came in hot pursuit after receiving the news that Chen Qinshan and Oda Shinjen had fought at the top of Tokyo. One was a legend of the Japanese nation, and the other was the newly promoted #1 on the God ranking. This battle was definitely the pinnacle of the world after World War II. In order to maintain order, the Japanese nation had mobilized the entire country's police force, as well as the self-defense forces, and the Rice Army stationed in Japan were already on standby, and some people even saw a new type of Rice Army battleship on Tokyo Bay.
After all, this convergence was no mere mortals, those were all powerful people with cultivation strength. Even the strongest of the God list had come, quietly hidden among them, wanting to see Qin Shingshuan's true form. Once these people made a scene, I'm afraid that the entire Tokyo would be overturned.
While waiting for Chen Fan to arrive, countless people gathered around the Tokyo Skytree. These people were all strong people from the cultivation world that had converged from all over the world, and amongst this group of people, one could see God-ranking powerhouses, and these people converged on one of Tokyo's landmarks, the Tokyo Skytree. The Tokyo Skytree was put into use 10 years ago, standing at 634 meters tall, and it was open to tourists on weekdays.
But now, ordinary people were forbidden to approach. What's going on? How come it's not open anymore, and it's not allowed to approach within 1,000 meters? Is something happening?
The fashionably dressed pretty girl Niyashara was stopped outside the cordon, which made her depressed. There should be something big happening. Look around, it's all police and self-defense forces.
Xiao Hao observed the surroundings, already feeling that something was wrong. What the hell is going on? Such a coincidence? Before at the Ten Manga Shrine, and now the Tokyo Skytree is like this?
I had wanted to go up there and take a picture before returning home, Niyasharo sighed. Thinking of the scene she saw at Ten Manga Shrine, she was scared for a moment. Fortunately she left early, otherwise she didn't even know what would have happened. Thinking of the Tianman Palace Shrine, she thought of Chen Fan again. Just as that kind of thing happened at the Tianman Palace Shrine, that super handsome guy Chen Fan was afraid that he had already had an accident. Just as Niyashara walked back helplessly, the surrounding crowd spread out like waves, and a long convoy of cars came like a long snake, finally stopping in front of the cordon. Then from the car came down a group of exquisitely dressed people. These people were both male and female, every one of them had an excellent temperament. At a glance, they were people of honorable status. What's the origin of these people, such a big row? Niyashiro couldn't help but ask as she stood amongst the crowd. Shiro, be careful with your words. Xiaohao's face changed when he saw these people.
What's wrong? What's the origin of these people? Niyashiro asked.
Look at the front, that's the Emperor of Japan. There's also the Prime Minister of Japan, Kishimoto Yuzo. Xiaohao's heart was about to jump out when he saw these people. These people, those are the topmost figures of Japan, the Emperor, the Prime Minister.
Ministers and people from the major top consortiums. This is really something big happening.
Xiaohao was stunned at the sight of these people. It was even if one or two of these people came, but now it was so many that it could only be said that there was going to be a shocking event happening.
What the hell is going on?
Niyashiro originally wanted to go back, but now she wasn't going to go back. She wanted to know what was going on.
You guys don't know?
Suddenly, a summer language came from Niyashiro's ears. When Niyashiro heard it, she immediately looked at the person who spoke, a middle-aged woman in her 40s.
This sister, what exactly happened? Niyashiro hurriedly asked. Chen Qinshan is going to duel with Oda Shinjen here. Aren't you here for this? This big sister asked oddly. Chen Qinshan?
Niyashiro sniffed with a confused look on her face as she continued to pursue the question. And this big sister, who had rushed to watch, was eager to talk to Niyashiro about things.
Chen Qinshan represents the Xia Kingdom, one man against one country.
Niyashiro's pair of beautiful eyes stared blankly as she listened. This was really something big that had happened. You say, can I meet Chen Qinshan? If I can meet him, to come to the number, is it possible to come to a romance that meets in a foreign country? Niyashiro was already in a fantasy at the moment.
Xiaohao's entire body became uncomfortable when he heard it. This woman was really flamboyant,
before it was that Chen Fan, now she was longing for Chen Xian. Time passed, those dignitaries of the Japanese nation gathered more and more, but none of those people approached the Tokyo Skytree, but waited outside. Alexis slowly arrived, and those dignitaries immediately raised their spirits when they saw the car. Soon, this car stopped, and Prime Minister Kishimoto Yuzo respectfully stepped forward to open the door.
Could it be Chen Xian? The Prime Minister personally opened the door.
Nieshiro's face reddened with excitement. However, coming down from the car was a beautiful-looking Oda Kumiko in a female samurai uniform.
What is this woman's origin? Could it be that Oda Shinjen? Nieshiro asked.
Her name is Oda Kumiko, is Oda Shinjen descendant. The entire Japanese country's national fortune fell to Oda Shinjen, this missy. Naturally the status of sublime incomparable, really envious. A few times I have this status in the country of the Japanese would be good, this big sister beside me said enviously.
Elder sister, could it be that you've been in the Japanese country for a long time? Nieshiro asked curiously.
Hey, when I was young, I didn't know what to do. I heard those online publicists say how good the Japanese country is, and how bad the summer country is, so I ran over, but I didn't know that the status of women in the Japanese country is low, and they also discriminate against the summer country people. This big sister said bitterly. This big sister talked about her tears, young by the publicist deceived, find a Japanese man, and then the summer country in the capital of the house sold, came to the Japanese country. As a result, the status of Japanese women is low, and discrimination against summer people, her life is very miserable, the money was transferred away by her husband, and finally divorced, cannot go back to summer, can only wash dishes to live. Nieshiro did not dare to listen to it, and then listen to the feeling that they are going to be infected with tears, and quickly said, I wonder what kind of person Chen Xian will be.
No matter what kind of person, this Chen Xian will definitely lose.
Big sister said.
Ha?
Nieshiro stared at her words, why? The Japanese are very shrewd, how could they possibly give someone the slip by setting up such a big battle? It must be a certain victory for it to be like this, otherwise, the entire Japanese nation would be disgraced in East Asia, and even in the world. This big sister said. When Nieshiro heard it, she was a bit dazed, but felt that her big sister's words were right. How could the territory of the Japanese nation, which had put up such a big battle, allow the Chen Xian to win? This Chen Xian is just stupid. If he wants to fight, he has to make a date to the summer country.
Xiao Hao also chimed in.
Nieshiro blankly glanced at Xiao Hao and didn't say anything as she continued to wait for Chen Xian. The number of bigwigs who had come was also increasing, and they stood at the side as if they were in a welcoming line. Time passed and came to the afternoon, only to see a man in athleisure were leisurely walking towards the Tokyo Skytree.
Is that man looking for death?
I didn't see so many big names, but he dared to walk over so struttingly.
Someone immediately laughed at this scene.
And those police officers went forward to repel them.
Chen Fan?
Only, when Nieshiro saw that person who was strutting and even walking forward somewhat leisurely, she immediately covered her mouth in shock.
Chapter 357, You're too weak.
Nieshiro looked at Chen Fan, who was dressed in casual sportswear, and literally froze for a moment, then hurriedly waved her hand, signaling that Chen Fan couldn't walk here, something would happen only. Oda Kumiko led the crowd towards Chen Fan, then said, Chen Xian, you're late. There was little respect in her tone, and even a hint of sarcasm.
A big battle.
Chen Fan did not care about this, but said indifferently. As the number one on the god ranking, you naturally need to put up a big battle if you want to fight against my grandpa.
Oda Kumiko said. Chen Fan sniffed and didn't say anything, but astonishment came from the surroundings. He is Chen Xian? No mistake?
Yeah, this is too young.
That's right, so young, isn't he a swindler?
Fraud, that's what people from Taiwan Island do. The surrounding people looked at Chen Fan with nothing but astonishment on their faces because it was just too young. A person who could challenge Oda Shinjen was bound to be extremely old in everyone's imagination, and it was only normal to even look like a white-bearded, white-haired immortal right now. This person looked to be in his 20s, a yellow-haired child.
However, Oda Kumiko's epithet was not false. Was this person really Chen Xian?
Chen Xian, please, my grandpa is already waiting for you. Seeing that Chen Fan didn't say anything, Oda Kumiko said once again.
Chen Fan then took a step in a direction.
Only, Oda Kumiko saw that Chen Fan was heading in the wrong direction, he was heading towards the crowd. Among the crowd, Nieshiro's eyes flickered as she saw Chen Fan walking towards her. Nieshiro covered her mouth, her mood was a bit excited as she waited for Chen Fan to walk in front of her.
Nen, you and I have some destiny, leave now, it's dangerous here. Chen Fan walked to Nyashiro's body, and before Nyashiro could speak, he spoke first. And after saying that, Chen Fan crossed the guard under the embrace of Oda Kumiko and the others. He's Chen Shinshin? Nyashiro couldn't believe it. The person he had encountered was actually Chen Shinshin, who was prepared to fight one man against one nation. Ah, finished, forgot to ask for the phone again. Nyashiro spoke out in chagrin after she watched Chen Fan go in. On the other hand, Xiaohao's face was as green as a pig's liver. He had mocked Chen Fan before, but it turned out that the other party was actually Chen Shinshin, who was prepared to be the enemy of one man against one country. This felt like he was a clown. Chen Fan crossed the cordon. Inside he could see the cultivators who had been waiting for a long time. These people were equally surprised to see Chen Fan. It was just too young. He is Chen Shinshin? Too young? Or maybe he has the means to reside in the face? Actually an old monster who has lived for a long time. Moreover, don't you guys feel that the aura is off? I can't feel the true chi that should be on him. Yeah, it's like an ordinary person. Is it really Chen Shinshin? These cultivators spoke out one after another, their words filled with surprise and disbelief. Chen Fan walked under the Tokyo Clear Sky Tower and looked up to the top of the 600 meters, already seeing a white-haired man sitting on top. Chen Shinshin, ancestral grandpa is already waiting for you up there. Oda Kumiko said to Chen Fan with a cold face. Chen Fan looked at Oda Kumiko and said indifferently, "It seems like you don't know how to show the proper respect." When Oda Kumiko heard Chen Fan's words, her pretty face changed. She sensed a danger and her body subconsciously wanted to retreat. Only, it was already too late. Chen Fan's body leapt, and a foot stepped on Oda Kumiko's head as if it was thunder, and with the force of this foot, Chen Fan shot out as if he was a cannonball, shooting towards the top of the tower. If you talk to me with that kind of attitude again, next time, I'll stomp on your head. Oda Kumiko sat on her but on the ground, her face pale. The only thing on her face was panic, while Chen Fan's voice was heard in her ears. Just now, Chen Fan only needed to exert a little force, and her head would have exploded on the spot. And below the tower, those people all froze. They did not expect that Chen Fan would fly to the top of the tower in such a way. This really was a ruthless person. And naturally, Chen Fan didn't care what others thought. At this moment, he had instantly arrived at the top of the tower. Above the top of the tower, he saw a white-haired man, who also had a crimson-colored katana stuck in front of him. "You have finally arrived," Oda Shinjen said in a flat tone when he saw Chen Fan. "Cut the crap and take out your full strength," Chen Fan said. Oda Shinjen reached out and gripped the katana in front of him that was like the color of blood and said in extremely standard Xia language, "I stepped into the cultivation of nearly 1,000 years, nearly 1,000 years of time, have not lost a battle, even if it is the battle of the Xia country Zhangzhenren, it is also a tie, which makes me feel very lonely, and now, I hope that you do not let me down." Ah. You almost reached the so-called legend realm, right? Chen Fan asked with a smile when he heard that. Yes, it's just that this step, I've been walking for too long. Back then, when I fought with Zhangzhenren in the Xia kingdom, I thought I could enter the legend realm. It's just a pity that it was Zhangzhenren who stepped into the legend realm, and from then on, he was free in the world, and now, I'm finally waiting for you to show up, Oda Shinjen said as if it was a stone breaking the sky. Back then, he traveled east to the Xia kingdom and challenged the Xia kingdom's strongest people just to cut out a path of legends, and in the end, he faced Zhang Sanfeng, but unfortunately, in the end, Zhang Sanfeng stepped into the realm of legends one step ahead of him, and he was still half a step short of that. Today, I will take your life to witness my path of legends, Oda Shinjen fiercely said. As soon as the words fell, a crimson monstrous sword aura shot up into the sky, then a blood cloud covered the sky above, and within this blood cloud came the sound of ghosts crying and gods howling, like endless grievous souls hissing. Those who watched the battle saw the scene immediately, their faces showed shocked colors. Even after being separated by a long distance, those watching the battle still felt an extreme sense of oppression, as if they were going to be swallowed by that blood cloud and have their souls devoured. This is the demon sword blade chi that ancestral grandfather raised with the blood and souls of 100,000 people, and by beheading Chen Shinshin today, he will break the limit, and from then on, he will step into the realm of legends and be invincible in the world. Oda Kumiko raised her head to look at the blood cloud in the sky that was transformed by the sword chi, her eyes filled with adoration as she said. When the crowd heard this, their hearts were shaken. This was to walk out of the path of legends with a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Worthy of being the top of the Japanese martial arts. This is it. Only, Chen Fan couldn't help but laugh out as he looked at the monstrous blood-colored sword chi. It's too weak. Qin Xian, you are indeed arrogant enough, now I will behead you and prove my path of legend. Oda Shinjen snorted coldly, the demon sword Morasame in his hand chopped in the air. Stab la! In an instant, a huge blood-colored blade chi swept under this blade, slashing through tens of zhang, cutting through the void, and chopping towards Chen Fan with the sound of ghostly cries and godly howls. The power of this blade not only chopped the body but also the god. Once chopped, even a person in the god realm would not only have no bones left, but even his soul would go up in smoke. However, Chen Fan didn't even bother to look at it as his sword finger chopped through the air. Instantly, the five elements sword chi chopped out this sword chi from the body of the five elements chopped towards the blood-colored blade chi, and immediately, there was a thunderous sound that exploded, and the majestic chi poured out in all directions, and the Tokyo Skytree Tower, which was constructed from steel, instantly collapsed, and countless pieces of steel crazily slammed down, and the huge tower also shook crazily. This collision was as if the end had come. Blocked it? How is that possible? After the slash, Oda Shinjen took 3 consecutive steps back while Chen Fan remained still. This time, he had lost. Told you, you're too weak. Chen Fan said indifferently. Chapter 358, 6 Heavenly Demon King. I'm too weak. Oda Shinjen stared at Chen Fan, a blood fire rose in his eyes, and the aura on his body continued to climb. Rumble. Along with the climbing of Oda Shinjen's aura, a sword intent rushed out from his body like a volcano erupting, transforming into a crimson-colored pike that shot up into the sky, and with that, the entire iron tower shook, emitting a roaring sound as the steel ground around it continuously cracked. Simply arrogant to the extreme. Back then, even Zhang Sanfeng didn't dare to say so. Oda Shinjen let out a furious roar, holding the demon sword Morasame in both hands, and slashing out with the momentum of swift thunder. Shinto one-blade slash. As the sword slashed out, a crimson-colored pike, like a rainbow piercing through the sun, was brilliant and incomparable. This was Oda Shinjen's one-blade stream. Back in the year when he fought with Zhang Sanfeng, this slash was a slash that even Zhang Sanfeng was shocked by. After so many years of cultivation, the power of his sword has once again increased, far exceeding that year's sword. This knife chopped out, enough to split open a mountain. The terrifying blade intent that chilled through the bone marrow was even more so under this blade, chopping down the sky as if it was going to split this earth apart. In the face of this blade, Chen Fan's fingers merged together, transforming into sword fingers, swung in the air, and returned to sword. This sword was still a casual sword, not utilizing any sword skill aptitude, but rather the most basic chop action of the sword technique. Although it was the simplest sword chop, the sword on that was chopped out was incredibly solid, and there was liquid sword intent flowing on top of the sword on. Boom! A roaring sound came, and in the midst of Oda Shinjen's incredulous gaze, Chen Fan's casual sword finger chopped his horizontal pie sword awnings into 2 halves, and even destroyed them. This casual sword chop by Chen Fan was like a 2,000 kilogram chopping a 10,000-year-old heavenly tree in half. All of Oda Shinjen's saber intent crumbled, and it did not have the slightest effect on Chen Fan at all. To be honest, your cultivation level is indeed weak, but I can boast about your comprehension of your blade intent. Chen Fan let out a faint smile. Sword intent, blade intent belongs to the intent on cultivation does not have much to do with, intent and cultivator comprehension related. Oda Shinjen cultivate blade law for many years, for the sword meaning of the comprehension is quite deep. This point, Chen Fan is still generous praise. Oda Shinjen has achieved the only fine, will be the level of sword intent cultivation to a very high level. However, in the face of Chen Fan, especially after obtaining the Chaos Pearl Sword Daoraim and comprehending a higher level of sword intent, it could only be described as an ant trying to shake a big tree. As Chen Fan's sword came over, Oda Shinjen's body immediately flew backwards, rushing out of the Tokyo Skytree and finally hovering in mid-air. It was normal for a God Realm powerhouse to hover in the void. Still standing at the top of the tower, Chen Fan looked at Oda Shinjen and said, "That's all the strength you have, then it's time for me to send you on your way." Oda Shinjen sniffed, and facing Chen Fan's sword again, he suddenly exhaled a breath, and then the demon sword Morasame in his hand stood violently in front of his body, and recited a sentence under his breath, 6 demons combined. Oda Shinjen's voice that was recited in Japanese was not very loud, but at the moment it came out, the voice was like thunder resounding through the clouds, and then quickly spread over the sky of Tokyo. The 6 demons have merged. After Oda Kumiko heard these words, her pretty face abruptly changed as she said in shock, "This Qin Xian is so powerful that he forced ancestral grandpa to utilize the 6 devil combination." When the Japanese powerhouses below heard Oda Kumiko's words, their faces changed, knowing that next, Oda Shinjen would do his best next, this amazing battle would truly begin. As Oda Shinjen's words were read out,
the Yasukuni Shrine in Tokyo City suddenly had a six-colored beam of light rise up into the sky. Red, yellow, blue, green, orange, and purple, the six beams of light rose up from the Yasukuni Shrine, rushed into the sky, and then reversed their direction in midair, shooting towards Oda Shinjen.
What's that? There seems to be someone in those six beams of light?
Those who were paying attention to this battle immediately exclaimed out in shock when they saw the six beams of light shooting out. In these six beams of light, the crowd saw six figures, all of which were wearing armor from the Japanese Warring States period, while their faces were extremely hideous, as if they were evil spirits. Ms.
Oda, could those six figures be greed, anger, dementia, hatred, lust, and evil, the six heavenly demons? Izao Yamato immediately asked when he saw this.
Not bad, it is greed, anger, dementia, hate, lust, evil, six heavenly devils. Ancestral grandpa inhabits the Yasukuni Shrine, is suppressing and refining the greed, anger, dementia, hate, lust, evil these six devils. God. This is Ancestral Grandfather's greatest card. I'm afraid that I originally thought that Qin Qingshan wasn't enough for Ancestral Grandfather to use. I didn't expect Qin Qingshuan's strength to be so terrifying. However, if Qin Qingshan faces the six devils combined, no matter how powerful he is, he will surely die.
Oda Kumiko said.
When the crowd heard this, they looked to the sky and all of them revealed a look of delight. This battle, it was almost over. The six paths rushed into Oda Shinjen's body with a thunderous momentum.
Ah!
After the six paths rushed into Oda Shinjen's body at the speed of light, he let out a hissing sound that resounded through the clouds. This sound was like a decadent demonic sound, surging in all directions with Oda Shinjen at the center before falling into the ears of the crowd. After the people heard this voice, there was a demonic sound reverberating in their heads, constantly stimulating their primal instincts.
Women, I want women.
A cultivator's eyes were crimson as he looked towards a woman before pouncing on her. There was also someone who faced money and revealed a greedy color. Those cultivators with low strength, or mortals who couldn't withstand these six sinful demonic voices, in their madness, stirred up all the sins in their hearts. When Oda Kumiko and these powerhouses saw this scene, they were all horrified. The six devils merging together, just their voices alone were a terrifying contamination, truly terrifying to the extreme. And above the sky, Oda Shinjen withstood the power of the six devils, his body aura madly raised until the extreme, exclaimed half a step into the realm of legends. At this moment, Oda Shinjen's back had six-colored demonic wings, and his body pulsed with six-colored demonic flames representing greed, anger, dementia, hatred, lust, and evil.
Six heavenly demon king. Oda Kumiko looked at Oda Shinjen above the sky, took a deep breath and said, Grandfather ancestor ended up on this devilish path.
When the people of the Japanese nation heard this, their faces all changed, staring at Oda Kumiko in shock. Ancestral grandfather is the sixth heavenly demon king of that year, Oda Nobunaga. He wanted to step into the realm of legends with the path of the devil, only, at the last moment, he chose to give up, and in the end, he suppressed these six heavenly demons into the Yasukuni Shrine.
Oda Kumiko sighed. One of the most famous lordly figures in the history of the Japanese nation was actually Oda Shinjen.
He had stepped onto the heavenly demon way in the name of Oda Nobunaga, wanting to break through into the realm of legends, but unfortunately, he had a premonition that even if he were to enter the realm of legends, he would no longer be himself but the sixth heavenly demon king, and so he chose to give up. And now, Chen Fan's strong strength made him not use this suppressed power.
Chapter 359, Crisis Attacks.
Oda Shinjen carried 3 pairs of demonic wings on his back. The rushing true chi on his body was like an abyss, so deep that it couldn't be seen. His eyes stared at Chen Fan, and he let out a voice that was a mixture of 6 types of demonic sounds. You have forced out the power that I least want to use.
Heavenly demon.
And Chen Fan looked at Oda Shinjen with a surprised expression on his face. He could sense that this was the power of a heavenly demon.
Heavenly demons were beings from the demon realm.
The devil realm, Chen Fan had seen it in a book called The Worlds, and the heavenly devil was one of those beings, and this heavenly devil would leave the devil realm to invade the human realm. There was a devilish sect called the Heavenly Devil Sect in the middle of the Qingshan starfield, and the sect leader of the Heavenly Devil Sect was a heavenly devil king at the god transformation stage. Chen Fan had dealt with the heavenly devil, quite a difficult devil Dao being, majoring in divine soul attacks, and if one's heart had a devil in it, one would be aroused by the heavenly devil's devil Dao technique, and would end up going mad and insane, and eventually become the heavenly devils.
Food.
Now, Chen Fan did not expect to encounter a heavenly devil here, although this heavenly devil in front of him could not be compared to the heavenly devil he had once encountered, and could only belong to a low-level heavenly devil. However, the origin of the heavenly devil was something that Chen Fan had to know.
It was because the heavenly devil definitely came from the Earth's extraterritorial land.
Not bad,
this is the power of a heavenly demon, it is a good death for you to die under this power.
Oda Shinjen raised his demon sword Muramasa and pointed it at Chen Fan. In the next instant, his body flashed as if a thunderbolt swept through the air, but in a matter of seconds, Oda Shinjen cut through the void, holding the sword in both hands, and chopped at Chen Fan. This knife chopped out the demon blade above the jumping demonic flame, but also as the 6 heavenly devils' shadow appeared, condensed greed, anger, dementia, hate, obscene, evil heavenly devil's power. Wherever he passed, the extravagant demonic sound resounded, heaven and earth as if because of this demonic sound issued a mournful sound, terrifying to the extreme. In response, Chen Fan still chopped out his sword finger, and instantly, the condensed sword aura shone out. As the sword came out, the sword aura flashed and collided with Oda Shinjen's /boom. Instantly a sound that resounded through the clouds exploded as 2 terrifying forces intertwined and swept through the air, a terrifying pressure suppressing down from the sky. The entire ground shook and cracked with it. Countless people were caught up in this force, either dying on the spot or going mad and crazy. Only those cultivators with great strength withstood this terrifying force. Only, this knife Chen Fan still looked indifferent, stood stolidly on top of the iron tower, while Oda Shinjen holding the knife chopped in the air, the surrounding knife intent tumbling, the iron tower above the steel crazy crumbling. Only, this knife but cannot inch, as if by a powerful force blocked, stopped in midair, cannot close to Chen Fan a hair, is impossible to hurt him a hair. Chen Fan's sword finger pushed, a force of mana surged out, instantly Oda Shinjen's body flew out backwards, which made Oda Shinjen's eyes through the shock that sword just now was still blocked by Chen Fan in such a way. I don't believe that you can block this blade. Only, in the next moment, Oda Shinjen let out a roar, the demonic flames on his body blazing up, and that 6 colored flames shone in the sky, covering the sky and the sun. And a huge demonic shadow appeared behind him, a terrifying demonic shadow with 3 heads and 6 arms. When this demonic shadow appeared, monstrous demonic aura came overwhelmingly, causing the earth and sky to shake as a demonic might suppressed it. At this moment, Oda Shinjen had completely transformed into the 6 heavenly demon king, and the only thing in his eyes was Chen Fan. The people below were all emitting miserable screams, and even strong people like Oda Kumiko were having trouble with it. Only, these strong people still had their eyes staring at the sky in death because the next moment was the moment of a showdown. 6 heavenly demonic Dao slash. Oda Shinjen let out a demonic sound that shook the heavens and earth as he chopped down in the air with his sword in both hands. The moment this sword came down, that huge demonic shadow also converged at this moment, creating a demonic sword that was tens of meters long. This demonic blade chopped down in the air, the demonic flames were monstrous, shaking the heavens and moving the earth. As this blade fell, the Tokyo Skytree Tower, which was made of unrivaled steel casting, continued to vibrate with creaking sounds, as if it was about to collapse. Chen Fan faced this earth-shaking blow, a force of mana running, sword finger above the light of the stars shine. Heavenly Dipper Divine Sword Skill, Heavenly Sin Star Sword. Chen Fan slashed out with his sword, executing the Yuaning Realm's sword art aptitude, the Heavenly Dipper Divine Sword Skill. The Heavenly Dipper Divine Sword Skill, 36 stances, corresponded to the 36 stars of the Heavenly Dipper, and this sword came out, drawing the power of the Heavenly Sin Star to converge into a sword aura, on which the stars flickered, and there was even a sword intent flowing like water, decimating sins. Boom! The Heavenly Sin Star Sword Mantle and the 6 Heavenly Demon Blade collided together, a terrifying roar came from the sky, the void shattered at this moment, and the 2 forces intertwined into a circle, pouring out in all directions. At this moment, the Tokyo Skytree Tower began to collapse under this pouring power, and the huge tower began to fall towards the ground. The people below continuously let out screams and frantically fled. At this moment, these people felt as if the end had come. Boom! A roaring sound came from the ground, and the ground then trembled as the Tokyo Clear Sky Tower crashed down onto the ground, killing and injuring countless people who were caught up in it. Those who survived, on the other hand, were all staring daggers at the collapsed tower. Is this human strength? Countless people were shocked to themselves. The people who came to watch the battle expected it to be an extremely astonishing battle, but now that powerful force had destroyed the giant tower that was built from reinforced concrete. Who won? Oda Kumiko, these powerful cultivators, were staring at the sky above, they wanted to know who actually won. As the smoke in the sky cleared, these people saw a figure falling from the sky towards the ground. Who is it? Chen Xian? When these people from the Japanese nation saw the figure falling, their eyes stared blankly, wanting to see who had actually lost. Bang! A silent booming sound came from the figure as it smashed down so hard that a deep pit appeared. After Oda Kumiko and the others looked at the figure in the deep pit, they all changed color in unison, with nothing but disbelief on their faces. Impossible, impossible, ancestral grandfather has lost.
Oda Kumiko couldn't believe this. However, the Oda Shinjen in the deep pit told everyone that Oda Shinjen had lost. Qin Xian has won.
Qin Xian, surprisingly, has triumphed in the land of Xia. Those martial artists who had traveled from the Summer Kingdom saw this scene, while they let out cheers. Qin Xian had defeated Oda Shinjen. In this battle, the Xia Kingdom had won. Worthy of being the number one on the divine ranking, unrivaled. Other cultivators around the world as well as those god-ranking powerhouses who were watching the battle all let out sounds of shock after seeing the result at this moment. Chen Fan descended from the sky and quickly landed beside Oda Shinjen, then pressed one hand towards the already dying Oda Shinjen. Soul search. He wanted to know the origin of the heavenly demon. However, the moment Chen Fan pressed his hand on Oda Shinjen's head, his face suddenly changed, a sense of crisis came, and then he turned his head and looked in the direction of Tokyo Bay. Above Tokyo Bay, on top of the newest battleship of the United States of America, a huge black and dark muzzle was pointing directly in the direction of the Tokyo Skytree.
Target locked, positronic cannon firing. Above the battleship, an order was issued.